Yo, what's going on, guys? Hopefully, y'all had a good weekend and enjoying a good Sunday night of football, man. Hopefully, y'all just enjoyed the fights and you guys' just independence for all my Latinos out there, man. My Mexicans, uh, everybody that celebrated their independence, right? Guatemala from. Hopefully, everybody's having just a great time, a safe night, and just you're enjoying your nights as well, right? There's a lot of talk about that happened over the weekend in terms of the sport of boxing, and even even better weekend, the next one coming up on the 23rd, coupled with, I believe it's tonight or on Tuesday morning, right? There's going to be some fights in Japan. I believe Junto Nakatani is going to fight Agri Cortez. Agri Cortez is a guy that gave Bam Bam a very good fight after Bam Bam was looking amazing, beating Carlos Cuadras and Sor Rungvisai. So with that said, man, football was very good. I think I might go another second week going 3-0 in 3 different leagues. So that feels very good. I just beat my cousin. Well, I can't say I'm beating him, but I'm up him like by 20 points. I got one player left. He's got one player left. I'm projected to win. So unless George Pickens pops off for like 30 fantasy points, 2 touchdowns, like 100 yards, which is possible. But given that it's a division game against the Cleveland Browns and they got that dope ass #1 corner, Ward, I don't see it happening. Hopefully, at least I'm crossing my fingers. But I do hope that I'm able to come through because he was talking shit. So hopefully, for any of you guys that are doing fantasy football, it's pretty good. I sucked ass at DraftKings, and I did this new week. I tried this new app called what's it called? Pick Prism or Price Picks. And man, I was close, but Jameer Gibbs failed me, man. I mean, I thought he would be able to at least to pop off over 37 rushing yards and at least 30 receiving yards, and he fucking failed me. So that kind of sucked because, yeah, man, you got to get these price picks correct. And that was pretty close, man. It was pretty good. Obviously, like I said, I was having a very good month, man. These guys text at the worst possible time. I was having a very good month betting, and like I was said, like 5 nights ago, Venado was going to ruin my September because I got a lot of great things happening in September. It's been a great month, and yeah, bro, fucking Venado ruined those plans in terms of ultra happiness. I guess if that's the best way that I can go about perceiving my month of September, it's really good, and yeah, man, just he had different plans spoiling the and continuing his great run that he had and he's been having at 126, beating Andy Vences, right, Gabe Flores, and plenty other fighters like Josh Warrington and company. Yeah, man, football was really good. Look, I'm not gonna lie, if the season ended right now, I would see the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl. If the season ended right now, you got the Dallas Cowboys going to the Super Bowl. There's not many teams right now that look as dominant and complete, right? They look like a team with something to prove. They look like a team that's willing to continue the streak of what they had last year. Dallas Cowboys, if the season ended right now, they would be the more complete team than the 49ers, at least representing in the NFC side, right? The AFC, you got a lot of turbulence right now. I would say the Miami Dolphins, they have an explosive offense, obviously with those amazing receivers. Tua is looking really good. As long as he can remain healthy, they're always going to be and have a shot. And if they can keep the ball running with Moser, it's going to be fantastic things. Once they get Jalen Ramsey back, if they ever get him back, that defensive line with Christian Wilkinson, Miami defense looks solid, especially with Joe Burrow injuring his calf. The Buffalo Bills, I know they just shellacked and beat the snot out of the Raiders. But, I mean, it's the Raiders. They're only good within their division. Everything outside of it, they ain't going to do shit. The New York Jets look like a very complete team as well. But with Zach Wilson and losing Aaron Rodgers, I mean, they're pretty much done. They're going to be always in the games because that defense is stout and they're legit. And then that's essentially it, man. Um, Tennessee Titans, they could do really good if King Henry, right? Derrick Henry pops off for like 200 rushing yards every game. But if your quarterback is Ryan Tannehill, man, you ain't gonna do nothing. So that being said, man, I would say it would be like the Dallas Cowboys. If the season ended right now, they would be the most complete team. Another sleeper team for me would be the New Orleans Saints. Once Alvin Kamara gets back into the lineup after his 4 game suspension for beating some people up in Las Vegas, Pro Bowl or Super Bowl situation, I'm not too sure exactly what happened. But once he comes back, and he's going to help out the shit out of Derek Carr and Michael Thomas, coupled with Chris Olave, man. So it's going to be a lot of good things. But yeah, football's back and it feels good. I don't know if you guys watch college football, but Colorado right now is looking like the most polarizing, consistent, offensive-driven force right now. Obviously coached by Deion Sanders and with his son playing corner, Shiloh, and his son playing quarterback, right? Shadur Sanders, man, they're looking good. At least they can hang offensively. It's going to be very interesting. We'll have a more telling of how good they're going to be throughout the year once they play USC, right, with that amazing quarterback that they have. Like, I think it's like Caleb Williams. If they can hang with them, right, they're going to be good. Obviously, they've already succeeded and showed a lot of success, right? Last year, they only won 1 game. Right now, they're 3-0 and the top 20 team in the nation. So that's really good. Obviously, when they play these bigger teams and they have that, it's going to come down to the defensive line, especially for Colorado. But in the future, man, I believe they're going to win a bowl. They'll probably be the best team and like the #1 seed in the foreseeable future. I mean, right now, Deion is selling a very good product, and they're going to bring in a lot of prospects, right, out of like top recruits, 5-star recruits out of high school. So Colorado's looking good. So I don't know if you guys watch college football, but, man, it's been a very interesting year all around, starting off with the NFL and football, man. But going back into a little bit, oh, nice. Those are some badass speakers. There are coaxial, meaning bass, mid, and tweets are in each speaker, as in 1 or 2-way or 3-way or 4-way. Nice. Now my brother just sent me a text in the group chat. Just we're like doing classic vehicle restoration and putting in speakers, at least on one of my brothers' is Wildcat. So it looks pretty solid. But yeah, man, there's gonna be some fights. I think Speed was saying later on tonight or late Monday night or early Tuesday morning, right? I think Junto Nakatani is going to be fighting Agri Cortez. But look, I'm going to pose a question to you guys, and you guys might want to respond. Who do you guys want to see Luis Alberto Lopez, a.k.a. El Venado? Do you guys want to see him unify versus Robeisy Ramirez? Unify versus the winner of Josh Warrington and Lee Wood? Or did you, I guess, want to see him avenge his one loss or his second loss to Ruben Villa, who fought on his undercard and I believe wore a hat or maybe called them out in the post-fight press conference or, like in the post-fight with Bernardo Silva? I'm not too sure. Do you guys want to, I guess, I'm not too sure if Ruben is a mandatory or that would be a voluntary defense. I don't know if Venado is looking to avenge that loss when he has bigger fish to fry like Robeisy Ramirez, who he can unify, right? Me personally, I think I would like for him to fight Robeisy Ramirez and then have Ruben Villa try to fight like the winner of Josh Warrington or Lee Wood. I think Ruben would have a better shot beating those fighters. But yeah, man, I just posed a question for you guys. Who do you guys want to see Venado fight next? Yo, what's going on, Speed? Mic check.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear, man. What's going on?
Oh yeah, no, man. Thank you very much, homie Ricky, for inviting me onto your live. Always a pleasure having the opportunity to exchange ideas and everything boxing and boxing related. Um, and yeah, what a heck of a weekend, right? What do you think about everything? I mean, uh, I actually felt quite overwhelmed about uh, so many offerings, how every network was vying for our eyes. I was channel surfing. I may have told you this a couple of days ago, but I absolutely enjoyed everything that I watched, and especially with regards to Lopez, I liked a lot of what I seen in this most recent outing, which I've been noticing that a lot of commenters, people that are been going around and making the rounds in the various YouTube channels that I frequent, from the Top Rank YouTube channel to the more bigger boxing related channels out there. A lot of them have been very, very critical of Luis Alberto Lopez El Venado's performance, and I don't see so many negatives as much as they do. Um, I guess maybe all of a sudden they became these ardent fanatics of this Mexican brawler who I've nicknamed the Mexican Roy Jones Jr. Uh, but whereby they used to criticize him for having these lacking defensive abilities, all of a sudden they're criticizing him for doing that exactly, which is basically implementing more nuanced defensive tactics, and saying that that somehow makes him a less dominant force. I don't see it that way. I disagree with a lot of what's going on. I see a lot of different nuanced and actually quite desired abilities in this fighter, this most recent outing, against a very durable and hard tested and experienced fighter like Joet Gonzalez, which I believe he came with the right game plan. Just didn't do enough of it, and he made a couple of lapses of judgment. He didn't employ a lot of footwork, because I think a lot of footwork would have definitely provided him a few more opportunities to capitalize on the times that he got his foe to the ropes. But otherwise, I think he both fighters did excellent, and mostly I just walked away from the whole experience this whole weekend, flipping between the zone and Showtime and the Top Rank, just feeling like the sport really owes so much to the Latino fighters, especially those of Mexican blood and lineage.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they have a lot of admiration, right? That's a big seller market. I think they've always pandered to that crowd. There's always been those narratives, right? And I would even say they even exploit it, right? Because a lot of these fighters don't get compensated that well, and they give out the best fucking fights. At least in this modern day, you pin two Mexicans during Mexican independence or this month of September, and they always come out and show out. The whole undercard of ESPN was amazing. The zones cards were amazing, right? Yocasta Valle was pretty good little fight. William
Hmm.
Cepeda and Mercito Hesta was amazing. And then
Hmm.
there was the other one, I think also on the zone with Angel Fierro that we kind of talked about. I think it was last night. They
Yeah.
all showed out, bro. It was amazing. And the
Hmm.
whole ESPN card, even the guy that I thought Jermaine Ortiz would knock out, who Devin Haney knocked out. I forgot his name, so I apologize just for not remembering. But he gave Jermaine Ortiz a good scare, a
Yeah.
good little fight, and he was supposed to be like a journeyman type of thing. Everybody showed out, bro. It was actually a very great weekend to see like las banderas, right? De todas las culturas. Like it was nice seeing all that. Nice seeing a lot of like baile folkloric, folklore. Man, I'm butchering that shit. Folklóricos and all the classic cars. It was just beautiful, just seeing that vibrant and that color, right?
Yeah.
But
I,
yeah, man. I mean, and then they capped it all off really well with those amazing nights of boxing, bro. It was
yeah.
crazy. But yeah, man. I mean, I thought. I mean, just to reinforce your point, when it came down to Venado, I feel like he's much more dangerous now because he's working on what I perceive them to be flaws, right? I don't know if it's that black trainer that he's incorporated. I don't know if he's always had them in terms of this epic win streak that he has, but they're doing a whole lot of right things, right?
Hmm.
More so right than wrong, because obviously he's winning for a reason. A lot of people want to downplay that. Oh, you know, he's supposed to be an all offensive juggernaut, right? But he looked extremely great. against Joey Gonzalez. I thought the fight was close, but again, Joed didn't do enough for my liking, and I put money on him to win. I thought Venado defended his status very well, and he established himself why he might be the best at 126, right? I think
Hmm.
I think, like, for instance, if Lee Wood beats Josh Warrington, I got Venado beating Lee Wood, right? This isn't Mauricio Lara, El Bronco, right? Venaldo's not gonna have those problems of being unprofessional, of losing weight. Venaldo's gonna fucking run and always cut weight, bro. That dude's a soccer star. Well, he's got the soccer football background, so that dude's always gonna be conditioned. He's never going to have that issue, and he's never going to lose that just enthusiasm to throw a lot of punches. Like, honestly, he's like a David Benavides at 126. He's a Navarrete at 126, right? The only
Hmm.
fighter that I can possibly see beating Venado is maybe Brandon Figueroa, right? The WBC champion. Maybe him. I got Venado essentially like almost being undisputed if he decided to go that path at 126. I can see him beating, the Olympian gold medalist Cuban, Robeisy Ramirez, right?
Hmm.
Robeisy, I feel like he's very chinny. He's got some
Hmm.
very good skill and he's very creative. He's got a great trainer in Ismael Salas. But in terms of this becoming a dogfight, I don't think Robicy's got that dog in him. You know what I
Uh,
mean? I also think he's pretty chinny. He showed it in his first fight. And it's one of the things that are very interesting is that guy knocked out Robeisy Ramirez, right? And maybe Robeisy, I know he rematched him. I don't know if he beat him by decision or knocked him out, but it's kind of something the same thing that happened with Anthony Joshua when he beat Andy Ruiz. They beat you by knockout, and then you beat them by decision, and then that allows you to be like, oh, overruled. Like, that overrules my loss that I have him. No, bro. On record, you're still one on one. So, like, I
mhm.
always feel like you have to win too to avenge that loss because you're not supposed to lose to that guy in the first place, right? Especially given Joshua and Robicy's background in regards to the first loss professionally. So I always feel like you guys got to be much more dominant than just avenging that loss and being one on paper.
Yeah, yeah. I did want to go back to that. I look, watching these events, starting, well, really, I think since Thursday, right? I think there was fights on Thursday, and then there was fights on Friday, of all things. Three different networks, four different networks, in fact. There
Who was the
was
fourth?
there was Showtime, which again the PBC did a very lackluster promotion for their fighters, and I reckon there was a reason for it. The fighters on that card, were mostly Friday night fight type fighters, right? The up and comers, or the has-beens, um, but no notable names. So there was Showtime, and then of course we had the Zone event, the Matchroom event, brought to us. Brought to us by the Zone in Tijuana, Mexico, with Fierro and Samaritas, Brian Samaritas and Joel Fierro, which was really one of the Fight of the Year contenders. That was a show where Sabrina Perez, the fighter, I think she's from Argentina. She was fighting the Australian Sky Nicholson, and that's the one where she got outclassed. Sky Nicholson was just more aggressive, more in your face, and that's the one where the Australian's husband passed away. Husband and trainer passed away 2 rounds before the fight ended.
Oh,
Um,
okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
yeah, so there was that event right there,
No,
and
check this
then
out. The Zone had three events. Not only the
yes,
Tijuana one, they also had this earlier one
yeah.
based out of Canada. I was kind of watching a little bit as I was waiting
Hmm.
for the Williams Zepeda undercard at 5 p.m. to start Pacific time. But go ahead, Speed. My bad.
No, 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 you're okay. And then there was, of course, the top rank fights. That's third, right? But I kept mentioning the fact that there is another up and coming network that has assumed the fighting stable of a now defunct. enterprise that was ran by Kenny Thompson of Thompson Construction, and that's CBN Promotions, CBN Boxing. CBN Boxing had their inaugural event this Friday, and they do not have an app just yet, but they do have a YouTube channel called CBN. I would probably look it up under CBN Boxing. And if you guys don't know who Thompson Boxing was before they went out of, before that boxing venture ceased to exist, they were a long running boxing promotion from mostly Southern California and reaching places as far north into Sacramento, which was ran by a construction and lumber magnate named Ken Thompson. If I'm not mistaken, a once Texan who came to California, fell in love with the Southern California region, and he developed this company. And he was a big proponent of boxing as a sport and as a way for a lot of these fighters to have an opportunity to change their destinies, because there's a lot of people down in that region where there's gang affliction and crime and so forth, and just a little angst or a bone to pick. So instead of just getting into crime or otherwise, he would give him opportunities to fight. From that stable, Thompson Boxing, we had future champions come out of them, like Timothy Bradley, Mauricio Herrera. We had you know Josecito Lopez. He signed he had signed Ruben Villa the fourth for about 5 fights right before he got taken up into top rank. So basically, this guy developed the careers of these fighters, and then the bigger promotions would pick him up afterwards and grant him those opportunities that would put him up there with the champions and the legends and money making opportunities. But Kenny Thompson died about 3 months ago, maybe four now, and they had an event in his commemoration, and one last one, and it really went downhill real quick. The family decided they didn't want to pursue boxing as a venture, and CBN decided to buy out their equipment and their stable of fighters for the most part, and they decided to invest more in the technology and the theatrics of it, right? So now it's just much more professional. So CBN held a fourth one, but you're absolutely right. Matchroom, better yet, the Zone had about 3 different fights on Friday. Some of them included MMA from places like Russia and so forth. So
Well, I'm gonna cut you off because you
long story
let,
short, what
let
I'm
me
trying
ask
to
you.
say is that
Um,
everybody came and showed off, and they displayed the prowess and the fighting ability of the Mexicans and people that appreciate them, which was very commendable. Because if people think Mexicans only came to show up and show out on Friday or on Saturday, you're wrong. They've been doing
let me
that
ask
for
you this.
generations.
There's a couple of things. Do you feel that? Do you know why Canelo didn't fight this weekend? Why is it in September 30th?
It's no, I really don't
Have they
have
stated
any
anything,
clue.
or have you read anything of the reason why he won't fighting on this weekend? Because
I have not.
the void was filled, right? There was amazing fights if you paid attention to it and actually gave a fuck, right? In
Hmm.
terms of this, I guess smaller scale of fighters that fucking showed out, it was amazing.
Hmm.
But I do feel that there was a Canelo fight missing. Like, don't get it twisted. Like Zepeda versus Hesta, that was a one-sided beatdown, but it was very entertaining because obviously Zepeda did really well. But I was actually like rooting for Hesta to like continue, right? I was like, damn, this boy's he's tough, man. He's got heart. But it's just
Hmm.
that I felt like they did him kind of dirty because that ring was fucking so small. And I was like, bro, he can't even use no lateral movement. There's no, like, even if he has some urgency to escape and just run around, like, he just couldn't because it was like, oh, one step here and I'm already backed up against the corner.
Hmm.
Same thing with Angel Fierro and what's that? What's the southpaw's name? Samaria? What was it?
Brian Samaripa.
Yeah, like even him, you can tell that he had really good legs and he can box, but he was forced into a fucking firefight because that ring was fucking very small, bro. I'm just
Uh,
kind of like, all right, bro. I guess this is what people want, and it was, bro. It was amazing fights. At the end of the day, boxing, the best scoring criteria, or I guess the more decisive one is, hard punches landed, right? Quality punches. It's not so much dancing and showing a lot of distance, like the amateur game. But still, bro, I would just kind of like, you just can't neglect that aspect. And it doesn't matter. That's just a small little detail of the ring being too small. But yeah, I did feel that the Canelo presence was missing. Maybe like a Virgil Ortiz presence. I felt like if there was a fighter that stole the show, I don't feel that we quite got that to be like, okay, this is my new fight date. I'm going to always fight on September 14th. I didn't see that performance from anybody. I didn't really see it from Joel Gonzalez. I didn't see it from Venado. You could say you did see that from Angel Fierro and William Zepeda. But in terms of, again, you got to like how you said with Showtime and PBC, like they had fights and nobody even heard. And I felt like that promotion aspect of it wasn't really there, People weren't too jazzed about seeing Zepeda, right? El Camarón versus Mercito Hesta, even though Hesta has beaten Joel Diaz Jr. and Jojo Diaz. I just felt like that promotion aspect wasn't there. But since we already talked about the recap, I think it was last night.
Yo,
What did you think of
what the?
Teofimo Lopez taking
Who's there?
with Oscar De La Hoya? I thought that was huge, bro.
yo, me.
Who-
I'm just kidding. I'm acting like I'm broken up. No, I'm just kidding.
Drew.
What you guys think of Teofimo Lopez sitting ringside with Oscar De La Hoya? Is Teofimo Lopez a free agent? Does he? Because I don't know if you guys have been noticing, right? But like in social media or Instagram, Oscar De La Hoya is like one of the first commenters of Teofimo Lopez's page, and he wants out of Top Rank because Teofimo has shown he's kind of like a disgruntled worker, where he's kind of like, man, I'm doing all this I'm bringing in. I think he said up to like $100 million to ESPN, and he's still fighting for $1 million. And you have fucking fighters, that are getting paid much more than him, and they're not taking the big risks as him. So obviously he's disgruntled. Obviously he wants a cut of the viewership, and he wants more like ownership of his, of his art, bro. Whether it's access and ownership of his fight footage or whatever the case may be, the kind of like the right to his masters. What do you feel like? Do you think this type of like bonding with Oscar De La Hoya and this kind of like mutual friendship and respect to have one another, do you think Tio is very interested in signing with Golden Boy?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume so. Just because he's actually you know how like he has to pay a fee or something like that to keep the belt. He actually ended up paying that fee, and I'm not sure which belt he has right now. But he has a belt at 140. But
yeah, he's got the WBO ring and Lineal magazine belts. But I think he elevated himself, or the WBO did some shit where he's like the WBO super champ now.
Yeah.
Which is, I thought that was only for the WBA, but hey, I guess when you're Teofimo Lopez and what's his name, Paco Villarreal, you guys got great, mutual understanding and respect towards one another. You know what I mean? You're a franchise, bro.
Yeah. No, I think he's I think he's definitely interested just because of the fights, the type of fights he would get. It's just, I don't know, man. Just him as a person, I just feel like he doesn't have it all together yet. I think he wanted to retire. Mentally, he's retired, but I think he just hasn't found that way out. He says he wants to like build the gym and all this in Florida or something like that. I'm not sure if he already has.
Yeah, he already did. Yeah, he opened it down south in Florida, but
times are hard right now also, and I know that people ain't making money right now, even business owners. So I know damn well he's not making money right now. So he probably still needs money, and when he decided to pay that sanction or yeah, he paid that fee. He pretty much that spoke volumes, you know. That pretty much says that he wanted to stick around the game and fight again, you know. It's just what he says doesn't match, you know. It you typically, I mean, you if you're a real businessman, you kind of wouldn't even throw out numbers like that.
Yeah.
He's just saying 100 mil straight out the back. Like it's like, come on, man. Like, did you even like do your math? Like, did you even like get real with yourself? You know, behind the scenes and say, this is actually what I'm worth. You know, he feels like he's underpaid, and I get it, but you ain't no 100 mil. It's probably like just that's like rarefied air right there, right? That's like Floyd. That's like Floyd money right there. It's like that's more than just you're asking for 100 mil without putting in the work. Floyd put in so much promotional work behind the scenes. There's a reason why he actually got paid that. And Teofimo isn't brain smart like that. He's not a business savvy guy to be thinking outside well enough to be thinking outside of the ring like a businessman.
Damn, bro. I'm
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
I'll
mean,
comment this in a little bit, but what do you think about what he said, Speed, of what Drew just stated? Because he said a whole lot right there.
Yeah, so I'll just keep it simple. In my opinion, with Teofimo Lopez sitting next to Oscar De La Hoya, I liked it. Um, you know, I like seeing a fighter who's obviously going through a lot of familial issues be smiling with a rival promoter, because we do know that at least Top Rank's contract holds on to Teofimo Lopez for another year now, until 2024. What part of the year, whether it's the beginning of the year, middle, or the end, or the complete year, I'm uncertain. I do know that Teofimo Lopez was quoted most recently as saying that he has a contract with Top Rank until 2024. He thought it was 2023. But then I think somewhere around there, Mr. Bob Arum corrected him, and now he knows that he's stuck with him for until 2024. Now, under what terms and conditions that means, if it's just a calendar year, so he holds on to him completely, or if it means a certain amount of fights must take place before the end of year 2024, that's another issue. But I do like the fact that he's thinking freely enough to want to shop his services around to Eddie Hearn, which we know he's tried to do before, and now Oscar De La Hoya. As far as what Drew said, which is one of the things that I started to focus on, which is the fights that he could have at Golden Boy. I'm just trying to think, like, who can he have at 140 at Golden Boy? I mean, he could have Ryan. He could have O'Hara Davies if O'Hara Davies beats Ryan, which is very likely, very, very likely. And of course, I would have Teofimo Lopez beating both of them. But mostly, I would see Oscar De La Hoya being an intermediary, like somebody that would use his own promotional powers and his name to try to negotiate a future money-making fight against the likes of young Mr. Devin Haney, or any of the guys that Matchroom has, maybe even any of the fighters at PBC or Top Rank, right? So it just, I just think it's like future power movies trying to court Oscar De La Hoya's service, or vice versa, to see what they can talk about and where they can figure out what they're at. But don't get it
worth
twisted.
100 mil though?
No, he's not. But that's just a negotiation tactic, right? You start high, and everybody's going to bring you low. So you're going to meet somewhere in the middle. So it's going to be likely like around 50, 60 million for about, 3 or 4 fights is what he's probably looking at. But
price himself out.
He really won't price himself out, because I believe there is enough demand to see him fight. And if he's picked against the right fighters, he could make 15 million from a fight. Especially if it's promoted to us as a pay-per-view event, which is something that
that's doable.
15, but 50?
No.
Well, I mean, look, guys, Ryan Garcia made an estimated 40 million fighting Gervonta Davis. Can Lopez not call out maybe Gervonta Davis for the equivalence.
So check this out. Look, this is the way I look at it, right? So
What did you say, homie
what
Ricky?
I'm
That
gonna
was so
actually say
offensive.
is you're wrong, bro. Listen, no.
You're wrong.
Teofimo Lopez, I'm gonna say this. He's right now, unfortunately, there's not enough big names to like
Subriel
that he can
Matias.
fight, right? That are gonna generate a million pay-per-view buys. But Teofimo Lopez does have, he is a $100 million fighter, right? And kind of like you were saying, it would be like a fight with Ryan Garcia. It would be a fight with Tank Davis and Emiliano Vargas, right? But those fights need proper build-up. You see, Teofimo Lopez, like if you look at his resume, like it's diverse. It's fucking really good, bro. For like the age of 25, knowing what he's done, right? It took basically Crawford 38 years to accomplish what Teo has done in 25, right? If you want to give Teofimo the credit that he's a two-time undisputed champion at 135 and at 140.
He ain't
right?
in
Like,
no
literally,
knockout streak.
the politics at bay have fucked Teofimo Lopez up. Some might say it's, self-harm, self-inflicted wounds type of thing, right? But he did beat the ring lineal, undefeated Josh Taylor. He also became undisputed versus Lomachenko. But boxing politics, WBC shenanigans will be like, no, Devin Haney was a champion. Lomachenko didn't fight him, but he was a super champ. He was a franchisee. Look, it doesn't matter. Teofimo Lopez is a $100 million fighter, right? But what happened was,
With who?
check this out. He doesn't really have a following.
Exactly.
Like fiscal like supporters, right? Like he doesn't have literally a country behind him.
Mm-mm.
And if he were to associate with Oscar De La Hoya, he might get that backing.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Honduras, right?
Right now, he doesn't have that. You see, because Honduras population, it's not like a big culture of boxing fans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Not saying that there isn't boxing fans. No, I'm sure that they have boxers and boxing fans and of that nature, but
That's Chocolatito,
it's
right?
not prevalent like a country of Mexico or the United States, right? Or like Japan, where they like.
No, Drew, that's Nicaragua.
So,
Okay.
but even like Nicaragua, like Chocolatito, the way he fights and the record that he has, it's incredible. He is $1 million fighter, right? $100 million or a $50 million fighter. But the thing is, their markets of who you can pitch it to, it's very hard. It's very hard, and you have to. And like how Drew was saying, he's not a marketing genius, right?
Mm-hmm.
Associating himself with Oscar De La Hoya would be the first step.
Yeah,
Of how to sell Teofimo Lopez, right? Because he's in a confused state where he's from New York. They freely express and use the N-word, right? He dresses, a certain way, very Americanized, right? So he's kind of like how like Chicanos are in terms of not truly being accepted as like Americans and not truly accepted like as Mexicans. They're like, oh, you're just kind of like the other. This is street politics talks, right? So same thing with Teofimo Lopez. He's kind of like, man, I don't know where to gravitate towards. Who's gonna kind of like truly accept me? But what Drew was saying, and he's not like he did. Like Floyd did a whole lot of marketing scheme. Well, so did Teofimo Lopez, bro. But what Teo does, it feels like Teo doesn't play a persona.
Yeah,
he says like
Floyd.
We're like, damn, bro, you're going through what Jamal Charlo is going through. You're going through real life hardships. And the camera's in your face and you're trying to find the right perfect quote or the saying, but it comes out sounding like damn, bro, I know this is need to take a break. Where Floyd Mayweather, he had a shtick, he had a persona. It was all money, 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 flamboyant here, cars there, ladies here. He had that like lifestyle. Teofimo Lopez, there's not really like a selling point, right? Mm-hmm. And but again, if he were the first step would be associated with Oscar to get a certain fan base, and then the fights would eventually align. Sure, maybe like a Ryan Garcia fight. I don't know if it does 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, but maybe like 300 to like 600. If they sell it properly and build it up properly, it would be really good. Maybe a Tank Davis, but I don't know if Golden Boy has that pull, right? He would have to give Teo over to the PBC, kind of like they did with Ryan. You guys stated something amongst the lines like, who do they have to give Teofimo Lopez? Well, honestly, in terms of the fighters, ESPN still has them all at 140, right? I don't think Golden Boy has one 140 pounder. I know Arnold Barboza is in the market, but he might be signing with DAZN. I know Jose Ramirez is kind of like one more fight with ESPN, so he might be in the market. So there's those fighters that Teofimo can sell. Maybe they all go to Oscar De La Hoya, and then they build, kind of like a little tournament going on there, and then it'll be sellable. And then, Teofimo can go on the run. Let's say if he were to be like the next Pacquiao where he just beats every single Mexican like Arnold, Ryan, Jose Ramirez, William Zepeda, Jojo Diaz, then he's building a certain reputation, But again, that's just matchmaking, right? You still have to get that cult following fan base, right? And it takes a lot of years. He doesn't really have like, I don't know, bro, but there is a way to go about building Teofimo Lopez.
I think
Teo will be willing to say anything. He's already said everything in the past. So in terms of playing a character, he's willing to do that. Go for it, Drew.
I think the way Floyd did it, though, he bought out his contract. That's how confident he was. He bought out his contract. I think he needed money. Like, he didn't have that money, though. So he obviously had like somebody else pay it for him. I think it was like Leonard. I forget who paid it off, but he paid it off, and that's how confident he was. And he actually did his own thing after that. And he pretty much got his own investors, his own promoter, or like pretty much investors, and started his own promotional company. That's pretty much what you do, because that's how Spence has such a large following. His following, he really built that shit up from the ground up, and he even has his own, his own set of fighters. And I think that's the way to go to maximize your profit. Like, if you want to become that 100 mil fighter, you need to start showing, promotional company. That's what Devin did. That's how he's able to. That's why he's so balling right now.
Yeah.
It does come with fees right now. I mean, it does come with fees. You're gonna have to pay for, like, I heard you have to as a promotional company, you have to pay for, for VADA, and you have to pay for I'm not sure if it's the judges as well, but yeah.
Teofimo had that shtick, the takeover.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Devin Haney had what? The Dream, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking a
It's
rapper,
Devin Haney,
an R&B
Devin Haney
artist,
promotion.
the Dream who dated Christina Milian. You see what I'm saying? So like, the Dream of what? You ain't Sandman. You ain't fucking Neil Gaiman's book adaptation.
He's just Devin Haney.
It's like,
it's Devin Haney promotion.
Devin Haney, look, no disrespect to Devin, but in terms of who's really innovating this shit, it's Teofimo Lopez. You see what I'm saying? He became undisputed first. He beat Lomachenko first decisively. He also beat undefeated Josh Taylor. Bro, a lot of people forget that when Teofimo said that he was quote unquote retired, right? You know who was the first person to call the WBO to fight for that quote unquote
Devin Haney.
Devin Haney. And then what did Teofimo do, Speed?
Well, this was very interesting. I'm telling you, Teofimo Lopez is a genius. I try to tell you guys,
So
he's a
what did he do,
genius.
Speed?
He retired for about 2 weeks. In that time frame, Devin Haney, he called out the WBC to allow him to fight for the championship, the now vacant championship belt. And from right at that moment, the WBC had been holding on to
WBO.
The WBO had been holding on to Teofimo Lopez's belts as a champion in recess. And as soon as he heard Devin Haney called out and asked for the opportunity to fight for the belt, he said, "Oh, wait, I want my belt back. Devin, you want my belt? Come and get it." And then from there, and then from there, Devin Haney went mum. There was not a word.
The WBC route fighting Regis, who looked like shit against, So what I'm saying, that right
it was
there,
incredible. It was incredible, really.
They like doing that slick
and
shit.
That right there was a chess move. That was cerebral.
A very, very chess move.
That's that slick shit Regis was talking about.
No. What they were talking about, Regis is, man, that boy don't know how to play chess, because he don't even know what's going on and why he was talking about with Devin. Listen, basically what I'm saying is Teofimo been innovative. He been doing the grind. What we want boxers to do Teofimo Lopez has been doing that. Look, ain't nobody want to fight Sandor Martin. Bro, that dude is crafty. He's fucking slick. He out there to embarrass you.
So you think he
Teofimo
can beat
fought
a
that
lot of
dude.
dudes?
You see what I'm saying? Like, bro, Teofimo is doing what your favorite fighter, you wished your favorite fighter was doing. Because, see, if Bud Crawford was doing that shit, like if you were to fight Boots Ennis, which what everybody kind of wants, what Canelo would have to do to fight David Benavidez, Teofimo Lopez is actually taking those fights. That you're just like, damn, bro, that's a high risk, low reward type of shit with Sandor Martin. He was like, nah, bro, Mikey Garcia, watch me do what Mikey couldn't. But you see, because there's not that cult fan base that Tio hasn't established, people don't fuck with Tio like that. But in terms of everybody, bro, Tio is that fucking dude, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You see, people ain't doing what Teofimo Lopez is doing. Fuck no, bro. You see what I'm saying? So again, he's doing everything. He has the shtick. He has a polarizing, like what I mean, that shtick. Like he's got that saying, this is the takeover, right? He does backflips like Tank. He does, fucking Fortnite dances in the ring. He does spectacular knockouts. He's beating the credible opponents.
Tank
He's
versus
that
Tio.
dude. The only problem is Tio is either not Mexican or he's not black. So he doesn't have that cult following that are going to ride with their people regardless. He's kind of in between, kind of like that Chicano where like, man, am I Miklo? Am I going to be accepted by my white father? Or is it going to be like Paco, from fucking Blood on Blood Out? That's Teofimo Lopez. He's kind of like, damn, bro, I'm earning my stripes, but like, I'm not getting that respect and that fucking money that like I'm putting in, bro. Like, that's kind of like where he's stuck at. So again, the first step would be to associate with Oscar de la Hoya, Now a lot of people are gonna be pretty radical and they're gonna be like, nah, bro, look how every single fighter talks bad about Oscar, right? Ryan Garcia wants to leave. Canelo said in a statement that Oscar had said something that rubbed him off the wrong way, like you gotta get him a taste of something, right? That's usually like a drug reference. And then you get them hooked up on certain things. So like Canelo didn't really like that saying, right? It's very like an exploitation type of view, like a business person. That's kind of why, Canelo did what he did. So, Jermell and the Charlos were like, well, I left Golden Boy because they didn't give me the Canelo fight. But what a lot of people fail to realize is Oscar helped build. See, a lot of people forget and are very ungrateful. Oscar helped Canelo the biggest way, bro. You know what I mean? He helped him not just become a pay-per-view star, getting that Floyd Mayweather fight, and soon after, but he did a whole lot of like campaigning for that Chavez Jr. fight in the Triple G situation. That was a lot of things, and Canelo just kind of like, I'm innocent. Same thing with Ryan. Oscar had a fucking masterful plan for Ryan to at least be able to acclimate himself well against a southpaw after the performance with Luke, Javier Fortuna, Mercito, Jojo, William Cepeda, then Tank. Ryan didn't stay the course, and then now he's fucking disgruntled. Why? Because he was in the post-fight press conference, but Eric Gomez was. Bro, Oscar's he wasn't even in the William Cepeda conference. Like, anyway, this.
If one follows the way that Teofimo Lopez, see, that rant that the homie Ricky went off on, which is that Teofimo Lopez is $100 million fighter, and the way that he's promoting himself, but he's doing it differently than Floyd Mayweather. I think that's a very valid argument, because like how the homie Ricky stated, right? Everything that Mayweather did to become the big cash cow that he was very calculated and considered. He knew what he was doing. He was a master of the gift of gab. He was able to think creatively, but everything that he did and the fights that he took on and the words that he used had an intended effect. In the case of Teofimo Lopez is different because he carries his heart in his sleeve. And his only mistake, which you can only call it a mistake if you find it to be as such, is that he is completely honest in the way that he expresses himself, whether that is something that is advantageous to him or detrimental. Because look, the one thing that I'm thinking, right, is this: before his fight, when he had with what was it, Sandor Martin, I think he asked himself whether he still had it with an open mic out there. It looked like he was very vulnerable, right? And that made everybody talk about whether Teofimo Lopez was going through this crazy depression. His girlfriend was taking away the baby from him, having a fight with the security guard, going all kinds of stuff, right? But we got to see a very raw moment. Now you can't script these things, and the reason why this felt more real than anything that the than a lot of what Money Mayweather did is because we knew that this was not fake. We knew that there was no angling here. We knew that this was no calculation. Nobody exposes himself to the world as a vulnerable man, especially in a very violent affair such as boxing. But then you have to also consider what we were just talking about. This is what Teofimo Lopez did. He beat Josh Taylor right at the height of his accomplishment, a de facto 2 times undisputed. He beats another undisputed fighter who was undefeated. Well, you can go that Jack Catterall and say that that may have been Josh Taylor's first
but
loss.
let's focus on that one, Speed. Bro, Teofimo beating Josh Taylor. That right there was the one of the biggest upsets of this year.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get at is this. Look at the most amazing things that. Wait up, we'll talk about it. But what I'm trying to get at is
upsets the past couple years.
Bro,
what I'm trying to get at is that that Teofimo Lopez has been providing us hardcores and the people that watch the sport even casually some of the greatest stories in boxing. Because look, like we just talked about, he retired for about a month, and the WBO reached out to Devin Haney and asked him if he wanted to fight for the belt, right?
No, Devin Haney, they reached out to the WBO, not WBO.
Yeah. Haney, then they gave him an ultimatum. They asked him, "Are you serious about this? We'll give you 24 hours," right? Because they had already set up a potential fight between Jose Ramirez and Arnold Barboza, right? So these guys were about to fight. Arnold Barboza was about to fight Jose Ramirez for the vacant belt. But seeing how Devin Haney had become undisputed, having fought in Lomachenko, of course he was going to have dibs over anybody. But they were going to offer Devin Haney Arnold Barboza over Jose Ramirez, right? And he accepted that fight.
Yeah,
and then Lopez came back and said, "Nah, let me upend all those plans, buddy. I'm tired of helping you out become a known name after fighting the men that I have fought in and beaten first." And he's a genius.
Yeah, I was gonna go back to I just realized how much of a genius move that was, him saying that whole retirement thing. Now that makes sense. But I was gonna say him beating Josh Taylor was by far the biggest fucking upset, like since like Andy Ruiz beating AJ, and that might be bigger than that. Just because, dude, everyone wrote him off. Even the people who supported his Teofimo's own people, like the people that supported him, actually thought he was gonna lose.
Yeah.
Not only did they think that he was going to lose, right? Because even the bookies in the casinos had Josh Taylor the favorite.
Everybody.
The interview that he had with Mark Kriegel when he was like, "Yeah, chill." And he was like, "Don't talk about that shit, man." You know how he talks all crazy like that.
Yeah.
Just that mind space, right? It was like that mind where he was at. It was just like, damn, bro, you're going through what Jamal Charlo be going through with his baby mama and all this divorce shit, but you're actually fucking fighting. You see, Jamal got went to 200 pounds. He lost his color on his hair. He lost his braids. He looked wild, bro. Mm-hmm. Jamel's baby mama is beating up his ex-wife. Like, that's basically what we know and what we saw about Jamal. Teofimo be kind of going through the same shit, but guess what? He's still fighting.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to get into colorism and all these type of things, but basically it's like Teofimo going through the same shit these other fighters are going through, but they're not giving him the credit. And it's out in the open. He's very open. You see?
Well,
going back to what you guys stated, who can he fight? Right? What can Golden Boy offer Teofimo Lopez? It would be like this. First, the Ryan Garcia fight. Teofimo beats Ryan Garcia. It welcomes him to the Mexican-American fan base and gives Teofimo his flowers that he deserves. And then he could go back to legacy, right? There's a Devin Haney fight. There's a Tank Davis fight. Shakur Stevens fight. There's a rematch with George Kambosos. There's Jose Ramirez, Arnold Barbosa. He can rematch Josh Taylor. That's 7 fights, all predicated upon if he were to beat Ryan Garcia. So that's what Oscar can offer, right? Now, I don't know if Oscar, you see, I don't know if he can kind of control Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia said after Teofimo beat Josh Taylor, if he said something like, these are the 3 fighters that I would want next, and obviously he put Teofimo pending the outcome of the Josh Taylor fight. Well, now that we know the outcome, Ryan Garcia would fight that. Look, Ryan Garcia is in here for a short time and a good time, right? And it would behoove Oscar to try to use that pitch to Teofimo to reel him in, to bring him into the stable, maybe even offer him a golden. Hell, it would behoove and be a smart move for Oscar to even partner of Jake Paul, because Jake Paul in the future, he's the promoter of the United States of America. All right. Right now, he just needs to build up like his street cred in terms of the boxing circle, because people would just look at him as a Disney kid and a YouTuber, right? So that's what he's doing. But anyway, let me read a couple of comments. What Your Instinct says, Venado's not getting his high accolades that he deserves. Had great defense. I saw the fight all over again, and it was 10-2. He goes, welcome in, Mr. Vince Vargas. We will be addressing Lopez as a beast at 126 and how he has a shot at 126 at being undisputed at 126. Ultra goes, yeah, absolutely. It's funny how they praise Robeisy, who is not fighting anybody and just picking to shine because he looked like shit in his debut. Yeah, man, I agree. So we kind of talked about it and addressed it a little earlier before I posed the question of what you guys think about Teofimo being with and taking pictures with Oscar. That would be the correct move, going back to Teofimo Lopez, man. I just think that he has all the opportunity for growth. He's willing to play the game. He's willing to say certain phrases. You get him like a public relationship team. You get him a selling team, like a marketing team that can probably pitch and build up his profile. Bro, the world is his canvas. Like, he can't fail. Right? He already has a versatile resume. He's got the knockout power. He's got the credentials. Now it's just that next pull. Drew said something earlier about him opening up a gym in Florida. Yeah, he did open it, and it's probably one of those things where he wants to be like and teach the youth like boxing can be like your catharsis that can save your life type of speech and appeal that he can do. Bro,
is he even from Florida?
Check this out. When we met Teofimo right in Las Vegas in that Jaime Munguia Liam Smith fight, he was super open to every question that we asked. Even if I asked him stupid ass questions, right? Bro, we talked for 50 minutes. So you can imagine that that's what he loves to do. He's probably like reading a bunch of books, right? Books like the 4 Agreements and 48 Laws of Power and all these things. And he's just probably like, bro, I just want to share this knowledge to the world, you know? So that's just how Teofimo is. He's very accessible. It's just, again, if he was Mexican, he would have that following. If he was black, he would have that following. He would be much more popular than all these fighters that we follow right now. But again, because he's kind of like an outlier, right? He don't really know where to fit, and his fan base is kind of like a little bit of mix up everywhere.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean,
So at first, I did want to just
Inoue 126. Hold on, guys. I was reading the comment, man. Instinct goes, make it happen between Venado versus Inoue at 126. Venado wins as he's too big and strong and has a great chin and feet. It's hard to hit him clearly. You were gonna say something, Speed?
Yeah. So I just wanted to welcome in, of course, Mr. Vince Vargas, our very long time dedicated listener. Always a pleasure, Mr. Vargas. I hope your teams did well. I know that the Niners won, so I know you should be happy about that. And of course, welcome in Ultra Instinct. Ultra Instinct was a gentleman that I interacted with today. I had posted on Top Rank's YouTube channel how I was very impressed, but both of the fighters that at the Lopez versus Joet Gonzalez, right? I was very impressed with both. I really thought that Gonzalez came with the right game plan, but I also saw a lot of improvements, especially in defense and in movement, and this ring savviness on the side of Lopez El Venado. And he, with another gentleman, were one of 2 that responded to me. And you can tell that Ultra Instinct, he was looking at the same thing I was, where everyone else was really complaining and criticizing the performance of El Venado Lopez because he was quote unquote cute and he was defensive and less aggressive. I actually thought that that was a new implement to his game plan. And if I think I screenshotted some of the points that Ultra Instinct made, which were very, very observant. I agreed with everything that he said. For the most part, the homie Ricky and I had already discussed how great and how masterful, really, Lopez was looking in this most recent fight under his new trainer, which is Kei Kuroma. And Kei Kuroma came into the picture as the 2016 U.S. Olympics team's trainer, and he obviously is making some changes in the wild, unique Roy Jones Jr. style Mexican and El Venado Lopez. And most importantly, and the defensive side, he was rolling with the punches. He was bobbing and weaving, and he was implementing like a shoulder roll, but at the same time rolling his head. It was incredible. He was, even though Joet was in his face, he really couldn't get any good concussive punches in there, nothing with conviction. But yet, every time Lopez wanted to, he threw what he wanted. And although Gonzalez was being great at really, shutting up, he was getting through with all the combos, powerful combos, and Ultra Instinct was able to capture all of that. So I'm glad that we have listeners. Like Ultra Instinct and Mr. Vince Vargas, who are obviously watching these fights, learning from these things, going back into history and finding out what else they've done and against whom. And now they start looking at the potentials. Can El Venado beat Robeisy Ramirez? Can El Venado beat Ruben Villa IV? Can he beat, and I mean, I don't know about it Naoya Inoue, but can he beat Brandon Figueroa? Can he do that to these other 126 pounders? And we know 126 is a stacked division. Incredible matchups. You can match anybody and you'll get a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
no.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely, bro. Venado and Navarrete, they're creating their own style, right? And it's kind of like, it's just a style that, just throw punches. It's like when you tell your boxers, amateurs, bro, just throw, and they're just throwing and hitting nothing but midair. That's essentially Venado and Navarrete. They correct themselves in midair, But again, in this fight, Venado fought actually much more disciplined. Drew said in the comments right now, I think he's defensively irresponsible. Inoue would pick him apart. I actually don't. Not based on what I saw against Joey Gonzalez. Venado had been hearing the criticism. Again, if you guys go listen to Un Round Mas with Eric Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera, when he was interviewing El Venado, the interviews are in Spanish, so you might be that language barrier. Pero Morales was very critical of Venado, and he was telling him, look, wait, you're getting away with this shit because you're young. Once your legs aren't the same, your reflexes aren't the same. You're going to fucking look like Gamboa. You're going to look like Roy Jones Jr. Once those legs are gone, you guys are going to be defensively exposed. And there's going to be a lot of, you're not just going to hold up. Right now, you're young. You can get away with this shit. And then Venado has been hearing that criticism. And in this fight, again, 5 nights ago, we did a film study. And we were, juxtaposing Joey Gonzalez's fight versus Navarrete because that's how Venado fights. And then we saw, Venado versus Josh Warrington. Mm-hmm. He fixed those mistakes of keeping that chin up in the air, right? He wasn't just like, no, bro, he's fixing his mistakes. Again, Venado started boxing pretty late at the age of 22. Mind you, football, soccer was his first passion. That's what he probably wanted to become. So he has an athletic background, right? The cabecitas, he can dribble the ball and all that shit. So in terms of just that raw athleticism and that fighting spirit of always being conditioned and in shape, he's going to be a tough out for everybody. Once he starts learning that sweet science, you guys keep mentioning Kei Corona. I got to familiar myself with that person and that name who he's trained in the past because I don't really know too much. That name sounds foreign to me. Like I don't know nothing about him. But he's fixing those mistakes. At least he did in that Joel Lopez Gonzalez fight. Now, here's the thing. I feel like Mark Kriegel, I think he was doing the scorecard for ESPN. He was being very generous because that's been ESPN's guy, Joel. I think they've had him since like the amateurs because, he's well-versed in the amateur circuit. And he's fought in some really good fighters and he's came up short. So they were kind of polling and trying to, not manipulate the facts, but giving it to Joel Gonzalez on those close rounds. Again, Ultra Instinct said it was 10-2. I saw it like 8-4. If I'm being very generous, 7-5 Venado. But yeah, you can definitely see it 10-2, 93 Venado, because when Venado went on his David Benavidez shit of letting go of his hands and just piecing together, Joel just stood there with a high guard trying to roll the shots. And I'm like, bro, do a tactical retreat. Step back. You didn't learn from the Navarrete fight. You did exactly the same shit in the Navarrete fight. And it's like that same urgency that Venado shows to throw hella combinations, you have to match that intensity, but being defensively and get the fuck out of Dodge. And it was and I was really getting angered with Joel. And I'm just kind of like, bruh, do you not know how to take a step back? Like, it's okay to retreat a little bit and then reset and come back in. Don't just let the dude bounce off, because even if you're blocking, those punches still hurt. Y todavía se están mayugando el piel. You know what I mean? You're still smothering those punches and you're rubbing those gloves on your fucking face. You can poke your eye. You can still develop swelling upon impact. Like, you're bracing it well, but dude, it's still gonna fucking hurt. And you can start seeing little by little, the deterioration, the swelling, the redness, the closing of the eye on the right side of Joel Gonzalez's face. So it's like, bro, it's okay to back up, right? A little bit, circle around. And it just very showed his limitations, where on the flip side, it showed that Venado has multiple ways and he's growing as a fighter, where I feel like Joel has plateaued and hasn't evolved. And that's
he's definitely plateaued. Joel has not he has not added anything new to his game, and maybe he needs something new there. Like maybe he's been with the same trainer for too long. Maybe they've just stagnated where they're at in their career, and maybe then again it's just the fact that he's just taken on so many tough fights in so quick succession.
He needs a haircut.
You're wrong. He needs a haircut.
Just to bring up a point, because you guys keep mentioning what's his name? The Japanese fighter, Nakatani.
Naoya Inoue.
Listen, guys, listen.
I wanted to go back to that.
Oh, yeah. Listen, you guys gotta relax with Naoya Inoue, especially Tank Naoya versus Emmanuel Navarrete versus.
I didn't say that.
Look, both of those fighters have their own careers and their own separate weight classes. So right now, Naoya is looking to fight Marlon Tapales to become undisputed. Let him do that and then fight MJ Akhmadaliev at 122.
I'm going to love that.
Once he moves up to 126, in the meantime, Venado could unify versus Robeisy Ramirez. If you beat Robeisy Ramirez and you rematch the winner, or you fight the winner of Josh Warrington versus Lee Wood, now you're gonna have 3 fucking belts, Venado. So by the time that happens, Naoya is already undisputed. He's going to move up to 126, and if Venado's still standing with 3 belts, right, all that chain around him on his waist, that fight is going to happen. So basically, what I am saying is, Venado has to start collecting all that belt and all that notoriety and attention, beating all these fighters. And Naoya will knock at his door. And then we'll go back to, Venado getting his praises if he were to be Naoya anyway. But just this fact that he has to fight Naoya anyway, it's just like, no, man. Like, Venado has his own legacy to establish. He needs to get fight Brandon Figueroa. That's going to be a badass fucking fight. Brandon is a scrappy dude. He's going to bring it in. He's going to throw a bunch of fucking punches. He's going to hold, with one of the hand behind your head and pop uppercuts. That's Brandon Figueroa, smothering, nasty, ugly infighting style, probably illegal type of shit. But again, he's got to clear out that division at 126 before we start talking about these fantasy matches with Naoya. I think Venado could give Naoya a really good fight. But again, you got to start eliminating the competition, and you can't just wait for that ultimate calling to be like, Naoya is my savior. Here's my payday. Here's my pay-per-view fight. No, you got to put yourself in position and eliminate the ops.
I think what you have on paper, though, so you have a dude. So Brandon Figueroa is in the 126 division right now.
Yes, sir.
So I want to see what he does because I mean he has lost to 122 pounders in Fulton, and Fulton did just get demolished by a guy named Inoue.
But
So
that was debatable though. That fight could have gone either way.
what? Which? Oh, okay. I was about to say
Figueroa
Inoue.
versus Fulton. It could have gone either
Yeah,
way. Could have been a draw.
yeah,
You could have gave it to
yeah.
Fulton. You could have gave it to Figgy. You know what I
It
mean?
was a draw. It was a draw. But that means they belonged in the ring together. But I just feel like you got somebody who actually managed to put them who can put both of those guys away. So if you got someone like Figueroa giving someone a if you think Figueroa is gonna give Inoue a tough matchup, bro, I think Fulton can move up and end up can fuck around and be a world champion at 126 as well. So
Um,
I think that's how good Inoue is though. Like I just his activity in the ring is it's just I'm just going back to X's and O's. I mean, the thing is the, the way the 126 division looks, I feel differently. I feel like it's Robeisy that gives Inoue a hard time, not Venado.
I will say this: Fulton will be a top fighter at 126. I'm not trying to diminish that he's not a good fighter or a good boxer just because Naoya pieced them apart. But I would say like, let me see Fulton versus Mark Magsayo, and I think that Pinoy will knock him out.
Mm,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Mark Magsayo is tough. He's fast and he's explosive. He could get outboxed like Ray Vargas showed, but
Mhm.
let me see you fight some top dude before you go up against like Brandon Figueroa. Again, that fight was relatively close. It could have gone either way. Sure, I would say Fulton edged it out a little bit. Um,
But
but
this is why people talk about 126 guys and they affiliate those fighters with 130 pounders, and it's because those guys are really there's a lot of familiar opponents. They have a lot of familiar opponents with each other. You know, that whole
Yeah.
range from 122 to 130. Like you can really interchange those guys, and those guys they're not the if you do the compare the size and all that, there's not that much of a I mean it just depends who you're trying to compare, but I would say they're around the same size, 122 pounders to like
yeah.
130 a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, it's true. I just the way I look at it is just kind of like Venado has to play the undisputed game.
Yeah.
Right now it's like if you be undisputed, you're on the pound for pound list. You're gonna get the accolades, you're gonna get the recognition, at least from Ring Magazine and stuff. If you look at the Ring Magazine top 10, essentially every top 10 fighter that's on there is undisputed. Josh Taylor was there, Bud Crawford is there, Teofimo was there,
Mhm.
Jermel, Devin Haney, Canelo, Usyk. The list goes on and on. So I feel like Venado, if Naoya anyway, if Venado
Mhm.
wants to get that recognition, play the fucking undisputed game, go collect those belts.
Mhm.
Because those are some very good fights. Same thing with Navarrete, bro. Like Navarrete, you're a badass fighter. You have a whole lot of momentum. You just got a lot of momentum, even more so, and people are recognizing you. On both sides of the border after your Oscar Valdez performance. Go fight the winner of Eduardo Vasquez versus Joe Cordina. Go unify with Oshaki Foster. Go unify with the guy that Tank knocked out, Hector Luis Garcia. Go fight those guys. Don't
Mhm.
just sell your booty and move up to 135 and chase the pay-per-view fight in Shakur. Same
Mhm.
thing with Venado. Don't do the same thing and work as hard as you've been working, beating all these undefeated fighters, and then sell your booty to Naoya anyway. Bro, play the undisputed game, establish your
Okay,
legacy, then chase the cash.
gentlemen, let me read a couple of the chats, right? Mr. Vince Vargas states, I think it's his style of fighting, referring obviously to El Venado Lopez. A guard low, turns his head, which is smart, backs up too much. Um, the low guard, backing up too much, that's a very bad combo right there. Um, Mr. Vince Vargas continues. It worked because of the damage shown on Gonzalez's face. Yeah, I agree. The work that Lopez El Venado was doing on Gonzalez was definitely showing. Mostly his power. He was able to still cut in through the very tight knit defense that somebody has experienced and as astute as Gonzalez was able to put. But yep, he was definitely getting the best of that. Ultra Instinct says yes, it's so hard to hit him cleanly because he also crouches, so he implements levels to it, right? Yes, he beats Figueroa. He's easier to hit than Joet. Joet at least has better defense with his high guard and his elbows. He continues, which protects his body. At first, I saw it 8-4, but then I rewatched it. It was 10-2 Venado. Uh, Joet got hurt bad in round six with the left hook, it staggered him, and he figures that Joet definitely beats Lee Wood and Josh Warrington. Um, Now we can talk about that one. We can talk about that one. Would be a much easier fight for Joet Gonzalez, in my opinion, than Josh Warrington, because Warrington is an inside fighter and a very excellent inside fighter. Uh, in a brawler, a very dirty fighter too. And we know that Joet Gonzalez, although he's a very good outside boxer, mid range is probably his best, and he does also excellent work at close range to neutralize the action. But you do not want to be anywhere close to Josh Warrington's head. Or elbows, because he's quite dirty. He continues on and says Venado wants that. That's why he called him out first on the social media. That's why they started it. So he's referring to the fact that he was talking about wanting to see Naoya Inoue go up to 126 to fight El Venado. And that is true, guys. El Venado, for whatever reason or another, decided to call the Japanese monster the turtle. And he thinks he could get the Wood Josh fight much easier in Robeisy, but he doesn't know about Ray Vargas. Now, here's the reason why he doesn't think those fights happen, right? Um, a lot of these fights should happen, but because there's so much politics involved, we have Ray Vargas, which is the WBC champion, who's obviously at the PBC, WBC, and he's with the PBC. PBC is notorious for not allowing their fighters to go to cross promote. Now, here's the thing, Mr. Ultra Instinct. With the less profitable fighters and the less well-known ones, they will allow them to cross promote, like they have been doing most recently. I think they just allowed one of their fighters to go to fight Shakur Stevens in November, and we know that famously they allowed Stephen Fulton to go to Japan to fight Naoya Inoue. But I don't know what that does for Ray Vargas, because Ray Vargas does have some notoriety here in the States and also in Mexico, so I'm not too sure he would qualify for that. Lee Wood is with with Matchroom, and Eddie Hearn, he does cross promote. He's okay with letting his fighters cross if he thinks that they have a chance, but he would probably like to bring El Venado there to the UK, because he knows El Venado is good for it. He's been there before, and the UK also knows El Venado much more than Lee Wood is known here in the States. The IBF belt holder is Luis Lopez El Venado, and then the WBO is Robeisy Ramirez, which is in the same promotion as Luis Lopez. So we have been discussing El Venado Lopez fighting Robeisy El Tren Ramirez because it's probably the much easier fight to make. As far as styles, look, if you take El Tren's most recent fight, which lasted, if I'm not mistaken, 5 rounds. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have a very bad memory. Nonetheless, it wasn't a fight that lasted for too long, nor was it too competitive. I think Robeisy Ramirez got the stoppage somehow. He did so against a nearly 40-year-old.
I don't think he was 40, but he was a pretty solid opponent. I remember, I think I was watching it with Ricky, his last fight. Damn, my phone's acting up. I'm trying to look it up, but yeah, no, it was a top ranked card, and we were just talking about that. We're like, yeah, Robesie's actually starting to improve a little bit, because he switched his trainers, and his trainer is actually teaching him how to sit on his punches a little better, or a lot better. Satoshi Shimizu, that dude. and he was actually 11-0. Is that the guy you're talking about? I might be wrong.
I
Uh,
watched it. It was he fought on the undercard of Naoya Inoue and Stephen Fulton, if I'm not mistaken.
okay, got it. Yeah, it was that one. Then it was yeah, he knocked him out in the fifth round. Uh, yeah,
I
that was
guess
a
I'm
good.
not senile yet.
Yeah, no. But hey, I was gonna say, what's the title say? The last, but how do you pronounce that, bro? I'll just play with you.
You talking about
I wanted you to pronounce Mexican words, Spanish
oh,
words.
Saul Santos Albaran?
No,
Or,
I just wanted to see if you were playing around this time.
oh no, 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 no. Those are actual Mexican words. Well, I don't think it's Mexican. I think it's Spanish.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
fine.
The thing Mexican is like you would have to speak like Toltec or Nahuatl or something. This is just standard Spanish. But
Okay, so
yeah, I think there's so much potential there at 126. In due time, I do think Naoya Inoue will go up, but he has so much smoke at 126, and I'm glad
yeah,
that he not only wants to become this undisputed, but he wants to leave no man behind. He wants to take on not only Tapales, but I think he also wants like Magdaliev, which is a hell of a fight right there. And what's the other guy name?
but
Um,
this is the thing. He just beat the best guy at 122. I feel like I think nobody um beats Fulton at 122, but even though he had a close fight, against Figueroa, but I felt like he beat the best guy at 122 and down. So I think him him actually unifying is actually just doing the boxing gods a favor and keeping boxing in order. Because I like when people unify. I just like when the belts are all together, and that just makes fights easier to make. I feel like, but yeah, there isn't too much to fight for up until 126. Like you said, there's so much smoke. Like there's B level fighters I want in a way.
yeah,
There's B level, B minus level fighters I want in a way to fight at 126.
yeah.
Um, so that's why it's like, man, like before you move, that's what I kind of agree where Ricky was saying, like, let's stop talking about him and Navarrete and him and the guys at 130 pretty much. Like, let's stop talking about those guys because those guys are gonna either get exposed or win and move up. So I think in a way, since he's on the force right now, I don't feel like no one's a threat to him though. At the same time, it's just by what I'm seeing him do inside the ring. I know Rick is a type to kind of hold people back before giving them the flowers, but I'm kind
Yeah.
of I kind of feel like in general I feel like I'm jumping a little early. I'm jumping the gun a little too early, but man, this guy I just can't help it. This guy is just impeccable, bro, inside the ring. So
Yeah, but but Drew, the reason why he look, if Naoya Inoue stays at 122 to beat the remaining fighters like Luis Neri and Murshadon Agmedaliev, that's because he knows there's enough questions from the fans on whether or not he can beat those fighters. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think both of those fighters are, well, not in Akhmadaliev's case. I think he lost to Tapales, well, controversially. But he knows that those guys are very highly skilled. I think he has an interest in testing himself against them because he sees grit and he sees aggression and the side of the Mexican Luis Neri. He also sees explosiveness and skill and durability and Marlon Tapales. And I think he also sees Murjadon Akhmedaliev as a very highly skilled fighter who probably should not have lost to Tapales. So he sees those fighters are as very highly skilled fighters that he credits enough to want to fight him. Because if you can tell something in Naoya Inoue is that he's a great competitor. He wants nothing more than to test himself. So I assure you, he's gonna go up to 126 one day. and fight everybody. And then he's gonna go to 130 and so forth and so on. I think he's just not afraid to go to up to 126. I think he just
Mm.
finds so much interest in fighting those other men who he likely values as very skilled competitors. But without a doubt, Drew, listen to all these names just at 126. You have this up and coming UK fighter named Nick Ball. He's like the British version of Pitbull Cruz. We
Mm.
have Isaac Dogbe, obviously. We know he's good. We have Ruben Villa the fourth, right? We have the champions we just mentioned. We have Raymond Ford, Luis Nunez, Tomoki Kameda, Josh Warrington. Uh, Let me see who else. I'm just going through the boxing scene rank right now. Uh, Arnold the Kagai, Michael Conlon. Well, maybe Michael Conlon is now a little past it, especially with the damage she's taken on. Stephen Fulton. Uh, yeah, these guys are crazy, crazy skilled fighters. Joet Gonzalez. All those guys, you put them in any combination, and you don't know who comes out on top. Any day of the week, just mix and match, and
Yeah,
every single one of them promises a great fight.
I want Inoue to stick around 126 for at least 4 to 6 fights. Like I want him to stay in this division because once he clears it out, I would feel more than comfortable. I mean, maybe not 4 fights, but three, 2, 3 fights because that's how much you fight in 1 year. I guess I'm saying like in 2 years, I'm saying like I want him to stay in the same division for 2 years at least. Doesn't matter how many fights. I just want to see his body kind of get used to because I think that's what it is. It's your body getting used to the weight. That's why that's why Spence fucked up and let Crawford really grow into his weight class and actually let him focus on what he needs to work on. But that's what I'm curious to see. I want Inoue to fully develop at 126 because he's going to need it for 130. And at
Mm,
130, you got guys who actually throw away all that all that hard work you put in for on your technique and just to knock you out. And you got some of the sloppiest guys who just have a puncher's chance against you. At 130. So yeah, I want him to stay at 130. I know. Wait, it's 126 and then straight to 130, right? So yeah. So see, I'm already talking 126. He's at 122 right now. So
mm,
yeah, I think he needs to do everyone a favor because he is on the fast lane right now. So I feel
yeah,
like he needs to stick around a little bit, do everyone else a favor, and let this debating stuff easier for us people who actually support this guy. I mean, we all support this guy, but you know, like we just want him. I just want him to make it easier for me to debate how good this guy is. You know,
yeah. I understand. I understand.
yeah. So
Um,
that's what it is. I want him
let
to
me
do it
get
the right way, even though I
let
think
me
he's already like legit.
let me get a straight up and down answer from you, Drew. Um, Venado Lopez versus Ruben Villa the fourth. Who wins this time around?
Um, I mean, I can see Ruben edging it out. I see the holes. I think someone like Brandon Valdez would have gave Lopez a very hard time. I think Valdez was just a tough opponent for Ruben.
Mhm.
Even and Ruben still got the dub, and actually still made him look.
That's
Made his head
funny. That's
stayed
funny that you say that because
made his head pop back and everything. Yeah.
yeah, that's funny that you say that because I think the homie Ricky and I we were discussing this earlier, and we
Well,
both saw Lopez knocking the shit out of Valdez. But were Ruben Villa obviously outclassed and out hustled and just had way better work against Valdez. If Lopez fought Valdez, even though Valdez was doing good against the southpaw, Lopez Cervenal would have knocked him out. He had too many flaws. His punches would have cut right through his defense. Um, in fact, Joel Gonzalez would have beaten Valdez, and and I think Lopez would have knocked him out. Now, let me ask you, Lopez versus Robeisy, straight up and down. Who
I think
who
Ramirez
wins?
beats him. I think Ramirez.
Okay.
I think
How do you
Ramirez
see
is,
that? How do you see it happening?
because Ramirez doesn't necessarily have the angles that Ruben takes, except he's kind of like he's there to get hit, but his like his technique, bro, like he's there. He's not 90. He's not like because Ruben tries to implement that Loma style a lot, and you see it, and he's trying to like do his angles a lot. Once he moves to the left, he goes on to the right. Once he likes to move around like that. Uh I think someone like Ramirez doesn't
Mhm.
do the double the double pivot. That's
Mhm.
something Ruben does. I think he just
Yeah.
pivots once and then boom, he's there to fucking get you with the two or go he's got perfect technique. Not perfect,
Yeah.
but he's very sound. He's been in there with some fights. I think his fight against Isaac Dogbe really showed his worth. I think Dogbe gives Venado a hard time as well. I'd like to
Mhm.
see that because of their styles. They're both, they're both big in girth. But
Yeah, well then I guess big and girth. He said girth. Yeah, I just channeled my inner butthead or Beavis right there. So let me, while we're at it, then let me ask you. We know that Ruben Villa the fourth is he has wins over Shakur Stevens and I think Devin Haney. He's obviously came second place in the Olympics, only having lost to Shakur Stevens, if I'm not mistaken. Um, uh, and uh, and he's obviously looking much better, much more aggressive, more self assured about his skill set when he faces his opponents. Now that I believe this is a valid question, um, if Robeisy Ramirez fought Ruben Villa, who wins that?
if if Venado beats Ruben Villa,
No, no, no. If Robeisy Ramirez was to fight Ruben Villa the fourth, who wins that?
I think Ramirez will beat him, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Ramirez is just
power.
yeah, he punches he throws punches in between punches, and I seen Ruben get connected a lot, when he was while he was throwing, and I think Ramirez can capitalize on that. Not sure if he can put him away, but I just feel like Ramirez can outbox Ruben, not outbox him, just win enough rounds to win the fight. I think he's polished. He's and I'm just saying that because of his pedigree, honestly.
Hmm.
And he actually has a win against Isaac Dogbe. Dogbe is actually a formidable opponent who's actually been in there with some champs in 130 and with some champs in this division. So
Hmm.
I think Dogbe was really what made me not a believer, but like me makes me feel like he can win this fight at least uh against Venado. But uh yeah, just yeah, if he beats Venado, then he can definitely beat Ruben. But Ruben's obviously the dark horse, man. They have him in there for a reason,
Yeah,
so
and
uh
funny enough, we Ruben Villa, he said some words. On boxing scene today, it was reported on this report written by Keith Idek that Ruben Villa hopes Luis Alberto Lopez wants to avenge his loss, give Villa a rematch, right? Um, Villa is quoted as saying, "That's my goal, man. I want to win a world title." When we fought a few years back, I beat him for one of the WBO intercontinental regional titles. So I wouldn't mind giving him a rematch. I'm sure he wants to beat me and get his win back. So I think it'll be a really nice, exciting fight for me and him and our careers and for our fans.
Let me
Now,
ask you a question. How did they end up in this position? How did he end up a world champ? And how did Ruben end up right here trying to prove himself? You know?
yeah. So what happened, right, is that this their fight happened about 4 years ago, maybe closer to five,
Mhm.
back in 2019. I thought it was a Thompson fight. I know that both of them had been fighting for Thompson in a couple of their fights, but I think it may have been Top Rank because I tried to look up that fight with Thompson, which is now CBN, but I
Mhm.
think I only saw like a highlight that was produced by Top Rank. But El Venado and Ruben Villa fought, and it was a tough fight. Ruben clearly won it, but it was a tough fight. And as Ultra Instinct is reporting, apparently Eric Morales and Un Round Mas, which is his YouTube channel, he interviewed El Venado, and El Venado said that he lost to Ruben Villa because he wasn't at his best weight. He wasn't best prepared. I mean, he reports as saying that he was losing weight fast, and that's why he came in weak. Now, I don't like excuses like that. That's just the honest truth. It may be a valid reason, and I would believe that if he wasn't, losing weight adequately, that of course that's gonna, subject him to a weakened state, which is definitely gonna, be advantageous to his opponent. But I'm a big proponent of the fighter's lifestyle. You should not be blowing up in weight and doing all kinds of crazy things to have to all of a sudden lose weight so suddenly. Now, maybe if it was like a last
Whoa,
minute
whoa, whoa! Hold on,
replacement,
Speed. Speed, I gotta
man.
cut you
Well,
off,
hey,
bro. Because
listen, you go and drive wherever you're doing. Me and Drew are cooking.
listen, Drew asked you a very simple question, and just like always, you hit him with some nonsense and long ass
I'm
elaborate
giving him
answer.
context because
Listen,
he
no, no, no,
doesn't
no,
know.
no. He asked you. Listen. He asked you, how did they get into this position?
Well,
Ruben,
why don't you break it
not
down,
being a
son?
champion.
Why
It's
don't you
simple.
break it down?
Venado beat Gabe Flores. Once he beat and upsetted Gabe Flores, right? He went on a whole different career path. And I'm not gonna lie, bro. Ruben's my guy, but he shot the best versus Navarrete. He had the opportunity of a title match, and as if we know anything about Top Rank, if we know anything about Bob Arum, what did Bob Arum say to Guillermo Rigondeaux? Oh, the HBO executives, they're disgusted by by Guillermo Rigondeaux because he's a boring fighter. When Ruben fought Navarrete, that performance hurt his stock, bro. It hurt his stock a lot. That's it. That's what happened. So instead of like an immediate rematch after with Navarrete, he basically had 2 years, 3 years of inactivity because he needed to find momentum all over again, right? Where conversely, where Venado, not only did he continue to go on after beating Gabe Flores, he went on a rampage and knocking out certain fighters out, right? And then he ended up being Josh Warrington and he became a champion. That's the simple version, Drew. All right. The reason why they went two different careers is because Venado can pop, bro. You know, and that's essentially what happened. Now, here's this: Ruben had the title shot before Venado, right? Like they said, like Speed was saying, he had the he fought Navarrete first before Venado ever
Hmm.
had a championship bout. It just that's what happened. Ruben came up short during the COVID in 2020 and whatever the
Hey,
case may
Drew,
be.
you're wrong.
But
Nah.
that's the short. That's the short version of it. But here's the get like our first video and our first live that we ever said. The road to redemption for Ruben Villa, right? He can get that shit back. What happened in 2020 with Navarrete, that shit don't matter now, bro. You can start off with Venado. But like, what did we say a week ago? We said that Ruben Villa needed to make a standout performance. He needed to knock out Brandon Valdez.
We didn't say that
And he didn't
necessarily.
do that. Well,
We didn't
I
say that
said that.
necessarily. You said that,
I
and I
said that.
agreed that that would make him a star. But I also said that if
I told you
he
that he needed to steal the
dominated,
show.
I said that if he dominated, and displayed his prowess, we would know whether or not he's a good contender. I think he did that exactly. I think he did a lot of good things. And in fact, one thing that we have to consider is one of Lopez's skills is obviously from mid-range and actually probably from distance fighting, because he's able to clear a lot of space, with his hops and his sudden explosive way of throwing his powers, right? But one thing we've noticed in his past fights is he doesn't like it when you push him back. He doesn't like it when you put him to the corners. Guess what Ruben Villa was doing? He was staying in the face. He was coming with the pressure. He was angling,
Whoa,
double
whoa, whoa!
angling.
I'm not saying the
No, no,
fight
no.
wasn't
I know you're
entertaining.
not, but
I'm
I'm
just
just trying to
saying.
say
Listen,
that.
listen to me, bro. Listen. I said that he needed to steal the show on Mexican Independence Weekend, right? Jermaine Ortiz looking like shit against the dude that Devin Haney knocked out. Emiliano Vargas knocking out that dude. Ruben had to make a statement, bro. Ruben got the W. He looked
Wait,
beautiful. He had good
but
combinations.
did
But
but
let me
didn't
tell you this:
Lopez
once you
did
hold on,
Lopez steal the
listen,
show though? Did Lopez steal the show?
he didn't.
He couldn't even beat up Gonzalez, who he
No.
obviously was way more powerful.
Listen. He
And in fact,
definitely.
a lot of people actually think it was a very close fight. I don't see it like
Listen.
that.
Listen
I
to me.
think he won
Listen
by
to me.
2 rounds at least.
Mark Kriegel thought the fight was close. Okay, Mark
He
Kriegel.
had Joette winning.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, dude. That dude. What does he know?
Well, what?
Listen,
That's his
this is the
job.
guy that puts his fingers
What do
close
you know?
together.
That's his
He
job.
puts his fingers close together like he's saying a powerful message. And I talk from the heart like this. And when the fighters, and then he pauses after every word just to add emphasis. Listen, bro. Listen. Mark Kriegel, like Fight Hub, Marcos, they don't know how to judge fights, bro. Okay? So that's what happened. The reality is this. Ruben had an opportunity to steal the show. And it was an amazing show. It was an amazing fight. But you're just kind of like, damn, bro. You're supposed to be like Emiliano knocking this dude out. That's what happened. You know what I'm saying? So is he going to get the Venado fight? Well, hold 2 fingers, and cross his fingers he gets that fight. It's going to be a tough fight. If I'm Ruben, I'm looking to fight the winner of Josh Warrington and Lee Wood. You know what I'm saying? I will text him and be like, hey, yo, Ruben, you got go fight that guy. Get those belts. Then you can unify versus Venado or Robeisy Ramirez. Again, if you were to fight Robeisy Ramirez, that's a good fight. You can sell that fight, Olympian versus Olympian, right? But again, Ruben has to develop that knockout power, bro. This is what's hurting Ruben. This is what's hurting Devin Haney. They need that spunk, bro. They need that pop. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to find yourself in that trajectory of Guillermo Rigondeaux, and it's going to be very, like, for instance, Devin Haney versus Lomachenko. I know I'm going off tangent right here, but that should have been a huge-ass pay-per-view fight. Huge. But why wasn't it? You see? Same thing with Ruben. After that performance versus Navarrete, that road to redemption has to be filled with anger, bro. And like an angst to get that shit back. And you can't tell me you got it with Horacio Garcia, with the last dude that he fought, and
Look, bro. Look,
Stockton,
not everybody has
and
to.
then
Not everybody.
Brandon Valdez.
Look. If you look, we had an amazing weekend of fighting. I was actually overwhelmed. That just means that everybody came with it. Now, as far as the standout performance, well, if that's what you're looking for, like somebody has to go out there and tear it up. Well, there was Sanders Sayas. Unfortunately, he's not Mexican, but he took advantage of the opportunity and he did it. Who else was up there? We had Emiliano Vargas. He came with it. They put up the stellar performance. Now you're just talking about the headliners. I'm telling you that there was a lot of people that did a lot of excellent work, and you may just have expected the headliners to do it, but they sure didn't. Again, I think everybody did great. I don't need them to be the next revelation in the sport as far as anything, because the Mexican Independence Day, yeah, I suppose everybody's supposed to come extra hard with it, but that's what I've tried to argue. This is what I tried to argue from the beginning, though. Mexicans and Mexican Americans have been coming hard every single fight. They're not just going to show up for one day. They've been showing up for generations. You just want to see it in one special day, like if that matters to an American. Like, what are you talking about? people just scared to see these fights, and they brought it. Every single one of them was hard fought for the most part, except the Sanders
Let me
Sayas and
tell
the
you why.
Vargas ones.
Hold on. Listen, I understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you that you're saying nothing because this is the reason why. If I'm Venado Lopez and I'm the champion, I'm just telling you how the world sees it, bro. They would rather have Venado fight Navarrete. I'd rather see that fight than watching my homie Ruben try to get his revenge back.
The
If I'm being
world
completely honest
prefers
with
that.
you, hold on. Like honestly, I would rather see that happen,
The world,
right?
hey,
I would rather
hey,
see.
the world, Drew, the
Listen, hold on.
world.
I would rather see. I
Rick, the
would rather.
homie Ricky is
Well,
the
hold on.
world, bro.
Listen, no, like the world would rather see two
You're
Mexicans right now
wrong.
going at it. Check this out. If I'm Venado, I'm looking to unify. I have bigger fish to fry than trying to avenge my loss with Ruben Villa. Like that's if I'm Venado thinking. If I'm Ruben, that's all I'm chasing after, right? I'm
So
chasing after the deer. Yeah, I'm being the
is
That's
deer hunter.
great. That's
You
great.
can buy
Lopez
that
hasn't
shit.
called out
But
anybody.
hold
Lopez
on.
hasn't called
Bro, I
out
let you guys
Villa.
pop
So
off
what's
for
your
like.
argument? That's a moot point
Listen,
because
I
he's
let you
not
guys pop
asking
off
for
for
that.
40 minutes. I would like a little
Because
respect
you
and
were
not
taking
cut
a
me off.
dump. Because you were taking a dump.
Listen.
you were taking a dump?
If I'm Venado, I'm wanting to fight for unification. I'm looking to fight Naoya Inoue. I'm looking to fight everybody else other than like Ruben Villa. I just beat my mandatory and Joet Gonzalez. I don't want to fight a crafty boxer who don't bring nothing to the table. You know what I'm saying?
We get that, bro. We get that. There's
Look,
no argument there.
Ruben is my guy, bro. I got nothing but love with him. I
You
want him to
said
be a
that like 3
champion,
or 4
but you
times.
gotta
Who
You're
cares?
his
You don't have to
biggest critic.
apologize to us.
hold
You're
on,
his
but you
biggest
have
critic.
to go about the correct process. And when I say that you have to steal the show, and the reason why I say that you have to steal the show on that fight is because that's when you make your name off of it. I don't know, bro. He didn't stand out from the crowd, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so Sanders Sayas did, and so did Emiliano Vargas. There you go. End of story. They stole the show.
So this is my question then. If I was Ruben, who am I pulling for? Like who am I pulling for in the Lopez or Robeisy Ramirez fight?
That's a good question, Drew. That's a good question. That's I don't know. I mean,
I think
you know.
so. Let me try to put my let me try to wear his shoes. So I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking Venado isn't trying to give me a rematch. You know, he wants to he's going for the bigger paychecks. You know, if he wins, he's definitely not getting the rematch. Like, what was that? Oh, I thought
my
he was
bad, guys. Let me be myself, bro.
Yeah, mute yourself.
Yeah, and he fuck, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, no, he needs to yeah, he needs to hope Venado loses and then Robeisy will give him that, you know, that match just because Venado got bigger fish to fry. Like he can like who else has the other two belts?
Well, Ray Vargas has one. That's in the PBC, and I think Lee Wood has the other one. And, But Lee Wood already has to fight penciled in with Josh Warrington, though.
Okay, so I think, yeah, I would hope for Robeisy to win. I think Venado. What is the thing? I think Venado can actually. I can see him if he beats Ramirez. I could see Venado giving Ruben that match because he's not trying to move up yet. As of yet, I think Robeisy Ramirez, if he loses, he will be the one that moves up to 130. You know, in my opinion, just because he has a lot more pedigree and he's actually he matches well skill wise. I'm not sure about if his power will translate to the 130 division, but yeah, I think I kind of changed my answer, throughout the answer. I think, yeah, I think I did. I think I did just because I'm thinking about it right now. I think Venado, he wouldn't fight Navarrete. I think Navarrete is thinking the same thing. He has a bigger fish to fry as well. He's thinking Shakur. Yeah, he's thinking Shakur, and he's thinking that's Yeah. What else could you?
Now I'm
Well,
reading the comments.
we know
Nah,
that Lopez is looking at frying bigger fish because he's calling out Naoya anyway. So we can definitely agree there. Navarrete doesn't want anything to do with those guys because he's looking to fight Sugar Stevens. Um, so yeah, I think Ruben Viola has really, I don't know, he's really not in any kind of
That's a hard
position to call
question.
anybody out.
Yeah, that's a hard question though. Like, I don't think there's a right answer for that. I think shit. They're both in top rank, so it doesn't matter. You
Yep.
know. So yeah, I think it doesn't matter who wins. I think his chances of becoming a champion doesn't. I think it might slow down maybe, but I think if he keeps winning, he's gonna be able to get his chance. You know. Yeah, I don't think he needs to pull for it. I think I want to face Venado over Ramirez though.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to become world champion, I want Lopez. I don't want a two-time gold medalist, as my first, or to try to be a first-time world champion. Like I think Venado's like the easier route, So I think there's my answer right there. I think Venado. But
hell no,
what about
bro.
you, Ricky? What about you, Ricky? Who
Bro,
if
I
you're
completely.
Ruben, if you're Ruben, who are you pulling for?
This is why I was pulling for Ruben to get the KO, because if you get a fucking sleeper KO where that dude is folded backwards and his eyes are rolled back, not only does that go viral, but now people are like, God damn, this
Hold
boy's
on.
going into his hamstring and all this shit. But that performance, you have no pull, you have no standing, you have no power to enforce
Imagine,
certain shit.
imagine
I don't
Ruben
know. I
going to
don't agree
Bob.
with any of that, man.
Imagine Ruben going to Bob and being like, "But I made his eyes roll back. His fucking palms are fucking sweaty. You didn't see
But
that shit."
but that's what I'm saying, bro. Like only people that know Drac and like follow him, then we're like vouching for him. Yeah, let's get him a title shot. But if I don't know this dude, I'm gonna just be like, yeah, he's cool. He's still fighting 8 rounds, not a 10 rounder, not a 12 rounder. He ain't fighting Dogbo. So I'm just kind of like, just because we know him, and we follow him, then we're like, yeah, I hope he gets a title shot. But if you're just like, you're just gonna be like, nah.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
that high on Venado just because. I mean, I am, but I just don't see what I just don't see like what you guys are talking about. Like he's good, I see it, and I see that he can punch extremely hard. But do you see how awkward he looks when he's throwing the hook? Like that shit's looks incorrect. Like I'm sorry, you need to get checked for that.
I gotta
Like
ask you guys a question. When Venado beat Gabriel Flores, right, G Nation up in Stockton,
mm,
did he fight him at 135 or 130? Because I don't think Gabe Flores is a 126 fighter, bro.
yeah, you're right.
So that's what I'm saying. When you guys want to know how Venado got to the opportunity or the position that he is right now, by knocking out bigger dudes. What I'm
But you
trying
were
to tell
never.
you that Ruben needs to do shit like that. He needs to do it. I'm saying this out of love, bro. I'm not saying this for like hatred or just be like, oh man. I'm just saying, like, again, we have Ultra Instinct saying Ruben ain't got that power. He didn't got that performance. When you go look at a Ruben via highlights, which fight are you gonna go look at?
I don't know, guys, but I don't necessarily discredit a fighter because they can't knock anybody out. Why? Because I'm a big fan of Devin Haney. So,
Listen, I'm
anyways,
not
I
saying
want to
that.
read a couple of. I want to read a couple. I want to price you all about some of these fights coming up. Which, if you guys stay up 4 more hours, you'll start to watch fights on ESPN Plus taking place in Japan. Kenshiro Teraji is going to defend his. Check this out: his WBA, WBC, and Ring light flyweight titles against former two-division world champ Heki Butler on Monday night, September the 18th on ESPN Plus at the Ryaki Arena in Tokyo, Japan. ESPN will be showing the Teraji versus Butler event at 5 a.m. Eastern time, which is 2 a.m. Pacific. So we're going to have this a unified and lineal champion holding his belts fighting another one of the Butlers, not Butler, but with the D, Butler, Hecky Butler. So if you guys are gonna, have a all nighter or whatever, you guys are gonna be presented with some fights in a couple of hours. So there's really we can continue this action, right? Um, moving on with other news of the day. We've talked about Jamel and the Charlo, so so we don't have to do that. This one's a little interesting, but not too interesting. De La Hoya update on Ryan Garcia returned to action in November. He reports that Ryan will return to fight in November better than ever, and apparently, the names that are in line is in mid-November. Apparently, is really what he's trying to say. Uh, it's gonna be what was his name? Uh, Wow, no, I don't think. Oh yeah, Jose Pedraza, 29 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, and 14 KOs. He was a former two-division world champion. But he does go on. The writer does go on to say that he looked like a fish out of water since moving up to 140 in 2019. And he's lost to Jose Cepeda, Arnold Barbosa, and Jose Ramirez. So he's lost to every one of the heavy 140 heavier, better known 140 pounders at top rank. So he's gonna fight that guy right there. And I'm not too sure, what to make of that, except that's another soft touch. And I'm not too sure Brian Garcia took enough damage in this last fight with Gervonta Davis to even take a soft touch like that, when he could probably just hold off and negotiate a fight with O'Hara Davis for a real belt. And lastly, of course, William Cepeda. He calls out Devin Haney after stopping Gesta. Now, there's a lot. There's a lot to sort through right there. But first of which is Camaron. Camaron is a 135 pounder, and for the most part, I think it's safe to say that Devin Haney is a 140 pounder. So what is he proposing exactly? To bring down Devin Haney, or is he thinking Devin Haney's really gonna defend his 3 belts that he hasn't relinquished, and he's gonna fight for those? Or do you think the Mexican William Cepeda is willing to go up to 140 to make that fight happen soon enough?
What was your question? My bad, I wasn't listening.
William Cepeda, who just completely and utterly destroyed the Pinoy Mercito Gesta, is calling out Devin Haney.
I don't think he fights him. I think Devin's gonna fight one of the guys. Either he's obviously gonna fight Rigas, but I think he fights. It's gonna be hard for him to fight a Mexican fighter. I mean, unless he has like a big name, I think Ryan fights Devin before Cepeda. I don't think Cepeda has a chance. To be honest, his name, his likeness, just ain't up to par. To Devin. I think. I mean, there is a possibility he can, have that can be like his little warm up fight or something. But
Yeah, I just muted myself.
oh, yeah, nah. But yeah, I don't think he.
Yo, I'm gonna say this: when it comes down to Cepeda, again, look, bro, it's the same thing with Venado and the Ruben situation. When it comes down side, he gets nothing from Cepeda. Like he's gonna suck himself, dry and dehydrate himself at 135 because I'm fighting shrimp cocktail. No, bro, he would do that only for Shakur, only for Tank. Why the fuck would he do that for Cepeda? So this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. But you guys gotta think you gotta put your promoter cap on.
Did I say this? Did I say this? You said you guys.
Listen, what I am saying. No. Speed answers.
You're wrong.
Speed answers ridiculous questions. Speed's asking ridiculous questions. Listen.
Hello.
Cepeda should fight, right? That's who he should fight because he's unknown. So go fight Giovanni Cabrera. Go try to knock him out. Hell, go fight George Cambosa. He just looked like shit versus Maxie Hughes. This is who Cepeda should be fighting, not 40-year-old Mercito Gesta. You see what I'm saying? After beating Jojo Diaz in the manner of what you did by throwing over 1,500 punches, I understand why you're fighting Mercito, but it makes absolutely no sense. Cepeda, go fight Giovanni Cabrera. Go fight George Cambosa. Go fight Pitbull Cruz.
Okay, if I'm Devin Haney, I'm looking to fight after this dude, right, Regis, and if I'm victorious, I'm looking to fight Teofimo Lopez and unifying. You know what I'm saying? Listen, what we talking about here, bro? Come on, you guys a fan of
Why?
Devin Haney? You got
So
like,
what's your reason? Do you want to explain your reason?
well, if I didn't explain that, bro, it's high risk, low reward. It's like
There you go.
what we talking about here?
Talking about Devin. Anyways, I wanted to go back to Venado, um, because you said something about him knocking Gabe Flores out at 130, and I wanted to say that Venado, um, just his work ethic ain't all there, bro. He's just a big, full sledge. He's a muscle guy, bro. Like he doesn't have no, he doesn't have any like he gets good work, obviously, but I know that he gets fucked up by amateurs in sparring, and he's he he performs, under the lights really well, but I think he lost because he just can't hang with the pedigree like Ruben at 126. Once he's fighting, he's gonna be fighting at 126, not 130. So once he fights at 130 and he's running around with Ruben, is he gonna be able to do that, or is he gonna have his hands behind his back or his hands low, where he can get hit throughout the whole night? Uh, I think he smokes him, like Shakur said. What we talking about here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think there's a misconception, right? I think it's easy to see, a fighter the likes of William Cepeda look stellar against a fighter like Jojo Diaz, who obviously has fluctuated in weight class and has fought catchweights the past few years because of his lack of dedication, um, and beat that guy even with having thrown the dozen punches, which is commendable, right? Because who can throw a dozen punches in the direction of Jojo Diaz? We know that William Cepeda is good for it, but we can't give William Cepeda too much credit for having beaten 36-year-old Mercito Hesta, who barely got the decision in his favor against Jojo Diaz. Having, in my eyes, been either a draw or maybe even a loss for Mercito. Um, so when Ultra Instinct says something to the effect that Devin Haney is will be ducking William Cepeda, I think that just doesn't make sense, especially when we factor in that that William Cepeda has fought nobody like Lomachenko. He's fought nobody like Linares. He's fought nobody in his prime like Luke Campbell. He is not even daring to go up another weight class to fight a former unified champion in Regis Prograis, who only lost to an undisputed fighter in Josh Taylor. So how can it be a duck when Devin Haney is going up in weight to fight bigger men who are more accomplished than Cepeda? And I'm not even talking about the high risk, low reward kind of thing, because that's what Cepeda is. He's fighting in local circuits in Tijuana, fighting for nearly 40-year-olds. I think when we see a stellar performance like the one we just saw from El Camarón, we start to imagine all these great things. Oh my God, he's this world beater, but he's never been tested. Like, what is William Cepeda's best name? Like, can he beat Isaac Pitbull Cruz? I think so, especially having Isaac Cruz look like booty in this last fight. But can he beat Shakur Stevens, who called out Camarón Cepeda, and Camarón and Golden Boy didn't say nothing? They stayed mum. I mean, that's his shot right there for fame. That's his shot right there to become a champion. That's his shot right there to make millions. And what does Camarón do? He keeps mum. We can see these guys look great against the has-beens, the guys that have been to war and lost, the guys that are on their way out. But Camarón Cepeda really shouldn't get the accolades with the type of fighters that he's been getting to start assuming that people like Devin Haney would duck him. In fact, I see it quite the opposite. Camarón Cepeda has so much to prove, like the homie Ricky says, before we start thinking that he's this world beater. Do I think he's good? Do I think he might have a great shot at it? Absolutely. I absolutely think he would, but I don't think he's anywhere better than Lomachenko. I don't think he's anywhere better than Linares when Devin Haney fought him. I don't think he's better than Shakur Stevens. But everybody has a different eye test. I just think that right now we may be carried away by how good William Cepeda looked in his fight against the Pinoy, who I can tell you, if you put that Pinoy right there and Devin Haney beats him. You put that Pinoy right there against
not
Lomachenko,
also
he
this.
destroys him.
Hold on, Ocho's going on like, oh, Haney's been hurt by Linares, the same Linares that dropped Lomachenko. Now you got to understand is this. When Devin fought Linares, dude, he was only 21, 22 years old. Do you remember when David Benavidez had to rematch Ronald Gabriel? Why? Because Ronald Gabriel beat him the first fight. He dropped him the first fight. Do people call David Benavidez chinny? Absolutely not. Because he's only 20 years old when that fight happened. So what I'm saying with Devin Haney is this. Could Camarón give him a good fight? Sure. But just kind of like how Devin has a Linares, right? How he had a younger Jojo Diaz, how he has a Lomachenko, how he has a George Kambosos, that same George Kambosos twice, who beat and had the biggest upset up there with Andy Ruiz when he beat Joshua on Teofimo. It's the same thing. Devin Haney fighting Regis Prograis. Sure, Regis looked like shit against Danielito Sorria, right? But Sorria is a pretty good little fighter. He ain't no champion. He ain't no world beater. But he also hurt Arnold Barbosa. Go watch that final round or the last two championship rounds into it. He also hurt Arnold. He gave Arnold a good fight. But Arnold Barbosa is a good little fighter. You know what I'm saying? He can box. He's got good footwork. He's got a good jab. He throws good combinations. That dude from Southern California, he's solid, bro. So again, Devin Haney fighting Regis, we also got to look at it like this. Devin struggles with southpaws. I'm in agreement. I thought Lomachenko beat him. Jojo Diaz was landing combinations on Devin. Regis being a southpaw, and we know that Devin struggles with southpaw. How do we know Regis ain't going to knock out Devin? Like you said, he is chinny, right? So it's funny how you want to say that Devin has all these flaws, Ultra, against Linares, that Lomachenko beat him, but somehow he can easily beat Regis because he looked like shit against Sorria. Nah, see, it don't work both ways like that. So what I'm trying to tell you is Devin is doing dangerous things. Like Lomachenko could have easily knocked out, the chinny Devin Haney that Linares dropped. But guess what? He didn't. He couldn't even drop him with a body shot. So we got to see if Regis, knowing that he has trouble cutting off the ring, right? He's got trouble with the curve. Let's see if he's able to adjust and make his, have a good strategy to catch Devin Haney. And you also got to look at it like this. Regis is a champion. So Devin Haney has to come to him. He's got to take that strap out of it because Undisputed is nice. Undisputed gets you in the door, Devin. Undisputed gets you a title shot, right? To be the mandatory. But that same 25% that Regis can impose on you, you got to take and snatch that belt how you did against Kambosos. So Devin can't run like Sorria, right? If I'm not mistaken, that was for a vacated belt. Or maybe Regis had it. And that was a title defense up in New Orleans. I don't really remember the context. But you guys got to look at it like this. So again, is Devin Haney all that great? No, dude. Dude's 24 years old. He hasn't even grown into his man strength. But by that same token, Devin still has to beat Regis Prograis. And it's not an easy thing to do unless you think Regis is cake, and you think Devin's going to cakewalk him. It is what it is,
Well, men like
going back to Zepeda is supposed to do, El Camarón is supposed to do what he's doing. He's supposed to beat Jojo Diaz, a guy who's drinking, who's obese, who fluctuates hella high up in weight, who sends, pictures on Instagram to 15 and 14-year-olds. You're supposed to fucking break his fucking face in. You see what I'm saying? So what? That's what William Cepeda is supposed to do. He's supposed to dominate and KO a 40-year-old and Mercito Hesta. You see what I'm saying? That's what you're supposed to do because essentially those are nobodies.
Let me just address a couple of things.
Wait. Hold on. Same thing with Zurdo. He's supposed to knock out Joe Smith Jr. He's supposed to because, bro, you look like shit against Bivol. So what I'm saying is certain fighters, especially Golden Boy, Golden Boy's matchmakers, they know what they're doing. That's why that ring was ultra small, right? For William Zepeda not to have to chase down Mercito. Is there to fucking throw 200 punches every single situation. So again, you got to understand these certain contexts, right? Again, that's it. William Zepeda has
Look,
beat
look,
nobody,
let
like
me
Steve said, to
address a
get a
couple
title
of
shot.
things. Ultra Instinct. I know you're big on anybody who's Mexican, right? I get that. I got that from your comments earlier on when we were exchanging information. I just this whole past weekend argued how the sport of boxing owes the Mexican fighters so much. And in fact, the sport of boxing not only can survive because of the Mexican, but can only thrive under the participation of Mexican fighters.
Bro, you
So
don't need to put your Mexican cape on just to get Ultra's
no, no, no,
NC's
no, no,
approval.
no, no. But
You
I'm
don't
just
have to
trying
do
to
that. We know
listen.
where
Hey,
we
hey, hey.
stand.
Let me talk. Let me talk. Let me talk to this guy. Because I'm done talking about you. I'm just trying to point out a person's double standards, right? If first the Ultra Instinct, your fallacy is that you try to use Devin Haney wanting to negotiate the A side of the boxing match between Reach's program and him to take place in San Francisco as if he needs all the advantages. Well, guess what? Didn't the Mexican take Mercito Hesta down to Mexico to fight over there? And Regis Prograis is a unified champion who lost to an undisputed fighter. You know who Mercito Gesta is? He's nearly 40 years old who's never been a champion once. You see that? So you can't be so harsh on one fighter and it's so easy on the other, because then you're not being fair, you're just being biased. And I would say that you're being biased strictly because of some sense of national pride and otherwise. Well, guess what? um People such as myself who are involved in the sport of boxing in every sense of the word, as a father of a fighter, as a former boxer, as a brother of a trainer, I can tell you that we don't look at, what your color is. Because if you're across from us, if you're a Mexican, we don't care. We're gonna beat you. You see what I'm saying? If
Oh,
you're
I care,
black,
bro.
we
I
don't care. We don't care if you're black. We're here to beat you. We don't care if you're white. We're here to beat you. The only color that I look at is your color being red. So when you look at the sport as only a sport that it doesn't that you're not supposed to fall in love with these fighters because they're your nationality, that's one of the reasons why you can definitely be for that. But if you can just appreciate the sport for the violence that they bring and the excitement that they provide us as fans. Because I don't know if you're a fighter. It sounds like you're more of a fan than a participant in the sport. Because I assure you, once you're humbled in the sport by a person of another color or another nationality, then you're gonna come to respect them. How do I know
Bro,
this?
look,
How do I
straight
know
up.
this? Because so many Mexicans and Mexican Americans adore a person like Manny Pacquiao. Why? Because he beat so many Mexicans and he never ducked the work from the Mexicans. And when they lost, yeah, they sure cheered him on because finally there was somebody that could beat the Mexican dominator. But guess what? No Mexican worth his squat says anything bad about Manny Pacquiao, because if they respect themselves as fighters, then they know that he who beats them deserves that adulation. So I think you just have to really look at the sport in an unbiased fashion, just analyze it for what it is, and then you'll start to realize, thinking about it in black and white, oh, I'm just Mexican and Mexican is the best, you're always going to look at things and applying double standards, and you're always going to be proven wrong. I would assure you that the people moving Devin Haney are much more wise than the ones that are moving William Cepeda. That's why he's making the big money and traveling the world, whereby
Yeah,
Cepeda is getting a lot of credit from people like you when he hasn't even done anything except beat a 40-year-old Filipino. Taekwondo is not boxing, brother. Taekwondo is not boxing. But anyways, yeah. So
You know what?
you know,
Everything that you said was nonsense. You had to defend and put your cape on. Whoa. Stop, bro. I will mute you.
Hey, listen, I
Chill.
gotta, I gotta,
Listen,
I gotta
I
go
don't
to
know what
sleep
he
so that
said
I
that
can
you need
watch the Japanese
to
fighters.
put.
I gotta go to sleep to watch the Japanese fighters. But anyways, you can cook with that boy if you want. I'm pretty much done.
No, it's pretty simple. All you got to say is this. So Devin Haney dug Cepeda because he wants to fight Rigas at 140. Make it make sense. That makes so much sense. So listen, bro, you got to relax on the whole thing. All that stuff was nonsense. Look, Devin Haney is a young up-and-coming fighter who became undisputed. So his skills at least got him that far. That's all you got to say. Zepeda is a killer. I'm not trying to shit on Zepeda. I'm a fan of Zepeda. Dude, I watched all his fights. But he has to fight a Cambosas. He has to fight a Raymond Murataya. And once he can beat those guys, then I'm like, damn, now he's beating prime undefeated fighters, right? The same thing that Devin more or less was doing against George Kambosos. And so he fights certain dudes like that. Then I'm going to give Zepeda his flowers, like I'm giving, Venado his flowers. And I'm saying I want great things from Venado. I don't know about this whole, I got to defend my thing. No, bro, what the fuck? Devin Haney's 24 years old, like Zepeda's 24 years old. If these guys are still standing, it's going to be a good-ass fucking fight. Again, my point exactly, Kambosos did look like shit versus Maxie Hughes. So that's a very easy fight for Zepeda to win and knock out Kambosos. So it is what it is. Like, again, you think Zepeda is this killer, but who has Zepeda beat? Who has he knocked out? Did he knock out drunkard Jojo Diaz? No, he didn't. It's like, who has he beat? Name me one killer that Zepeda has fought that you're like, damn, bro. He knocked out Raymond Murataya. He knocked out Lindolfo Delgado. Who has he beat that you're like, bruh? So what I'm saying is this. Zepeda, I would agree that he would dominate George. You see what I'm saying? But the point is this. You have to still fight him. Go ahead and fight him. You can fight 40-year-old Mercito Hesta, but you can't kill George. Come on, bro. Go capture George of the Jungle. Go get little Georgie, Curious George, and beat him up. I want Zepeda versus Haney, 50-50 fights. That's real boxing. So Haney fighting Rigas Prograis ain't real boxing, huh? I want to see Zepeda fight Lomachenko. And if Zepeda can beat Lomachenko, then I'm like, all right, bro, then you're the goods. I want to see that, dude. I don't want Zepeda versus 40-year-old Jorge Linares. Let me see Zepeda knock out Jack Catterall. If he can throw the same 1,500 or 100 punches per round against Jack Catterall, then I'm going to be like, damn.
You're going too far, Ricky. Why doesn't he just take on Shakur Stevens? They're in the same weight class. Shakur Stevens called him out, and he's going to be a champion.
Shakur is fighting. Who is he fighting? A dope-ass Edwin de los Santos with a shit ton of momentum. Coming out beating Puerto Rican.
And who did Zepeda win? A 40-year-old.
If Zepeda knocks out those prime fighters, then I'm going to be like, damn, bro, Zepeda is that dude. But it was kind of like Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez when he got to 44-0. And when he finally fought somebody good, right, he fucking looked like shit. Mind you, Zepeda also got dropped against a fucking underdog. So, again, I don't understand where this dude capes on so hard for William Zepeda when El Camarón has fought nobody. Haven't you guys learned anything from Zurdo? Look, I know Zurdo. I love Zurdo. And the only fighter that he's fought that is reputable and really good is Sullivan Barrera and Jesse Hart. And he fought Jesse Hart twice, and those were amazing fights. Zepeda doesn't even have a Jesse Hart to his name. Not one Jesse Hart. You see what I'm saying? An equivalent version to that would be like an Edwin de los Santos. Hell, even like a Chris Colbert. Go knock out these dudes. Go beat them. Go bum bashing. If you think Kambosos is a bum, go knock him out. People will give you credit. You know why? Because Teofimo Lopez could have knocked out. Devin Haney could have knocked him out. Maxie Hughes could. Nobody has knocked out George Kambosos. So Zepeda beating him would be nice. Go knock out, Pitbull Cruz. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it's these people that fall in love with the Johnny Come Lately.
He's not a Johnny Come Lately. He been around the block. He knows these names. It is what it is. But he's just caping super hard versus Zepeda, and it's just like, bro, like I like Zepeda, but let's not give him the same praise we want to give Venado, because Venado's that dude. He's shown it time and time and again.
Venado had the hardest route after having taken a loss in modern boxing, and he's getting discredited and overlooked. But yet we have somebody like Camarón Cepeda fighting blown up Jojo Diaz, who's had weight issues in the past 5 fights and
Check
has
this out.
lost about the
Jojo
same
Diaz-
amount. And he fought a 36-year-old, oh mind, Filipino who actually lost to
Weren't you
Jojo
gonna
Diaz.
go to
It's
sleep?
ridiculous.
Check
All
this
right, yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. Actually,
Zepeda,
good night, homie Ricky.
later, bro. Good night. I'll be on here for like 5 more minutes. Zepeda, he said, what do you say? Zepeda beats Haney. Not even funny. That's why you're okay with Haney ducking. All right, dude. I'm gonna have to change the topic on that because they're just like. So you guys talk down on Zepeda now, but not Haney. Okay, this shows I'm more Mexican than you guys. So that's exactly what that topic was. This whole rebuttal going back and forth is because it shows that you're more Mexican than me. All right, bro. You can claim that title. Like, what the fuck do I care? Oh, I'm more Mexican than you, bro. I got Mexican Aztec tattoos. What, bro? That's nonsense. We're talking about boxing here. And the reality is, if Zepeda moves the way I'm telling you to do, if he fights George Kambosos and he knocks him out, he's going to get a whole lot of praise because you're going to go with that momentum that I did something Teofimo Lopez couldn't do. I did something Devin Haney couldn't do twice. You see what I'm saying? You knock him out, that's a good-ass fight. Bro, George has a big following from Australia. So that's what you're supposed to do. Same thing with Zepeda versus Pitbull Cruz. If you were to knock out and dominate Pitbull Cruz, he can go like, I did something Tank Davis couldn't do. Bro, that's a Mexican versus Mexican fight. That's a badass fight. I would love to watch that shit on a fucking, I don't know, Bud versus Errol Spence 2 undercard, co-main event. Like, this shows I'm more Mexican than you guys. That's fantastic, bro. Like, congratulations. I hope you do baile folklorico dances and wear Aztec, attire. That's great. And I hope you have a Buick or a Regal and you got that shit pimped out on fucking shows. Congratulations. What does that have you do? This does nothing of a back and forth. That was a clown ass statement. So again, Zepeda he's young, bro. He's 24, 23 years old. So the world is at his fingertip. If he can man that pressure, he can do it. He's a good-ass fighter. I'm not saying anything. But, like, has he beaten a Gabe Flores? No, dude. He hasn't even beaten Andy Vences, El Tiburon from San Jose. He has to beat these names because he's young. So he's got to be active. And if he's going to keep throwing the 200 punches every single round, you're going to beat all these dudes just based volume alone. He's got a beautiful style, throws amazing combinations. He's defensively responsible. He does open up a little bit, and could get caught in between. But I'll take it. That dude's volume is fucking nasty. He carries over that aggressive amateur boxing style over to the pros for 12 fucking rounds. That's unheard of. 1,500 punches is unheard of. That's like some fucking Manny Pacquiao shit when he was with Alex Ariza taking that monster juice. So again, if Zepeda can do this against that top tier quality of fighters that we're saying, Pitbull Cruz ain't just gonna let you tee off of him and throw 1,000 punches. Maybe Kambosos will, but he'll stand there and duke it out. Fuck, bro. He sparred 250 rounds with Manny Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? So he can take a punch or two. We saw him being knocked up against Teal. So that's a good fight, bro. I got nothing but love and respect for Zepeda. But if we're being honest, I'm not going to cape for him and put $10,000 on for him to be the next big thing off of Golden Boy. You see what I'm saying? Have Zepeda fight Ryan Garcia. That's a good-ass fight. I got Zepeda winning. Still a good fight. It's got great market appeal and an in-house fight for Golden Boy. But on that topic, let's go back to I don't want to talk about Devin Haney. I think everybody was covered all the topics that we wanted to cover in terms of Venado and Robeisy Ramirez, maybe Ruben. But again, I feel like this was an amazing weekend of boxing, and hopefully you guys got, you guys' money's worth. These are all free fights, except the Zone. You got obviously pay for the subscription. Hell, even ESPN Plus, you gotta pay for like $8 for it. But all these fights were amazing, and that's just what it is. Angel Fierro, he fucking fought amazing. I remember watching him upset Alberto Machado with a cross-promotional company with Miguel Cotto and Golden Boy, and that was amazing fight of itself. But anyway, guys, on that note, Ultra Instinct, thanks for tuning in. It's funny you have a big hatred for Devin Haney, but he's a Northerner cat, bro. He's from the Bay Area, and he's hosting a fight there, so it'll be really good, bro. On that note, guys, have a good night.